Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I ended the intro a little bit early. We're going to bring Tyler up here in just a second. And we're going to pregame a little bit for the, because we can. In the meantime, guys, it's debate night. You're going to hear some things you may not agree with that you may downright dislike. And you're going to want to feel a certain kind of way about it. You may even be tempted, to object, interject, or otherwise yell, scream, and cry. But I want you to remember.
Everyone does it. Now you can do it too. Shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. Shut up. Shut the hole in your face. Like that. You can do it. Shh. Shut up. And shut the fuck up.
Yes. It's a public service announcement that I must make before every broadcast. I don't often have to that much anymore, but it is debate night, and I understand the desire to spurg gnashing of teeth. These are strong influences. What's up, Tyler? How are you, my man? How are you? You're muted, sir.
It's a good intro, and I have to add to it. If you guys have any disagreement with me, you could take that and go fuck yourself.
There you go. Right. Just what was that? Hold on. I had something for that. What? It was a really special one. It was yeah, it doesn't matter. It was Tom Cruise and
Tropic Thunder, fuck your own face.
Thunder. Once you turn around and fuck your own face. It was flawless. It was perfect. It was the best. It was the best acting Tom Cruise has ever done, because he's not that manly in real life.
Yeah, he's not very good in most things. There's not many movies where you're like, wow, that Tom Cruise performance really stood apart.
Yeah, from his other performances. Denizen says, I disagree with this guy already.
Oh, then he could follow my advice and take that, put it into an envelope, actually. An envelope. And when you submit it up your own fucking ass, make sure you let me know.
Right out of the gate, it's pointed out that you have the Ice Baby up and not the Israel flag. The Israel flag comes later, ladies and gentlemen. The Israel flag does come later. That's you can't lead off with you don't lead with the right. You got to fake with the left and then close with the right. That's what you do.
ICE is doing quite the closing lately. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah, okay. They did pretty and good. Actually, Denison's going to lose his mind on that one, because he thinks that he thinks that was murder, and he's pretty staunch on that. Not moving.
He's allowed to be wrong, you know. It's okay for him to have silly views on the world and not understand the basic laws and court rulings in the last 50 years. It's okay.
Norms. Were you about to go to the cultural norms argument? Wow. It's a bold strategy to go to cultural norms. All right, so I know the direction I'm coming at this from, and mostly it's going to be largely factual, and that the economy is literally better in basically every single way. To the stream message Stream Rift and have him get in on this. So Israel already deported the illegals in Hamas, so Tyler's not wrong. But yeah, it's true. Yeah, but so yeah. Anyway, so So what direction are you coming at this from, Tyler? Just doing a little. You don't have to give away out your whole strategy. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but which direction are you coming at it from?
Well, generally, I'm going to agree with you that and then this is going to be directed at non-fun in particular, if we look at every metric of the economy, like you said under Biden, that every metric is good and people are stupid and don't know what they're talking about. We're going to use that. I'm going to throw that in his face every time he says something, pretty much.
There are some weaknesses.
Oh, yeah.
They're okay. They're okay. It's not like they don't drag a bunch of people down with them. The interesting thing, I think, and non-fun, I'm like 90% sure you're watching right now. So just the interesting thing is, if you will remember, we had a debate, Tyler, with non-fun, and it was you and a couple other people, and we were talking about how the tariffs were going to hurt other countries more than they would us if they didn't play. Either they had to play ball with us and have actual fair trade, or we were going to tariff them into poverty. And this is what's happening in China right now. Right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We consume much more than we put out on the world stage. That did close the closest it closed in the last 60 years in October. But generally, yeah, we buy way more than we sell.
Sure. Well, and but the thing is that obviously they don't buy a lot of our stuff, so we don't get hurt on that side of it. They sell a crap ton to us. We've slowed that stuff way down, way down, and it's hurting the economy especially in the coastal cities of China. Now, do we want that? I don't think we want it to continue long term, but I think the Chinese have a very good financial plan going forward, which is they're just going to tough it out and they're going to let the market correct, and then they'll come back stronger, which is what we should have done in the 70s, but we decided not to. We decided to continuously borrow and create money out of thin air, and now we're paying that bill in spades today. So
No, I am going to say, like, Trump compared to other countries in the trade war, yes, we've come out on top, but the trade war, in my mind, has not sufficiently delivered economic positives enough to justify it in the United States.
You, and I think the reason that we would agree on that is we're going with the Conan philosophy here. We want to crush their bones under our boot and hear the wailing and lamentations of their women. Right? We're on that side of this, and most people are just like, we just want to be treated fairly, and I'm like, no, we closed the fair window a long time ago, right? Like, at this
Fair was
point,
a while ago.
full on Conan. What's up, Stream Rift? How are you?
Hello, Grid One. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing exceptionally well. Far better than I've ever deserved.
Fucking A, man. Yeah, Trump's economy is doing way better for me. I don't know how even it is, but I'm loving it. It.
Well, I mean, if you just look at all reasonable metrics, it's far better than it was. And as we were mentioning, I don't know how much you heard of that, but non-fun actually went around when he first came. It wasn't probably not the first time he'd been on the scene, but his big thing early in Trump's presidency was that he was going around talking about how, my God, the tariffs are the worst possible thing. And I and Tyler and many others debated him on this and said, well, no, we like tariffs. We want them, and we want them to work. If we're getting tariffs, if we're getting tariffed, we must tariff other people. And he said, he of course said that it would hurt us more than it would them, and that is not true. Right now, China's economy is really bad. It's really, really bad. And it's in hilarious ways. It's bad, actually.
How so?
How so? Well,
like hilariously bad, or like their whoopee cushion industry is failing, and we just don't have the economy for fart equipments anymore.
Kind of both. So you especially in the coastal cities where most of the wealth in China has grown because they're exporting, right, and they're doing manufacturing. Now, I could give a good overview of this. Non-fun, if you're listening, take notes. China's high-tech industries are doing exceptionally well. Okay.
Right.
They're doing exceptionally well because those are things that, just like our high-tech industries are doing exceptionally well, because these are industries that aren't going to get hurt by tariffs. These are industries that are cutting edge, and people want that technology right now today, and it's not easily farmed out in other places, right? But when you get into making widgets, traditional manufacturing, and shipping, China's had a huge downturn in that because of the tariffs. And what that means to them is that there's a lot of companies that have gone out of business or downsized massively. Um, and anecdotally, I have some experience in this area. My wife is Chinese, and her cousin is married to someone who has um, he owns a corporate dental operation, right? So he has, I don't know, 50, 100. I have no idea how many little dental shops he has in China. Um, but there's a pretty big operation, and they have a corporate office, and they were up until recently very staff heavy, right? VPs of this, and secretary of that, and all this. And in the past year, they've literally just been slicing those positions because they weren't needed anymore, right? You just don't need that heavy a staff, and when you don't have the money coming in, the first thing to go are the people that are kind of just nice to have, right? And so that was interesting. And then in Beijing, my my wife had dinner with one of her classmates whose son is about the same age as my son, maybe a year or two older, and they were talking about how he started college, and he, because it's a college in a city, he Ubers to from his apartment to the college every day. And he was joking that he's never seen so many ex CEO Uber drivers,
Oh,
like corporate people who have been downsized out of their companies, or the companies have shut down, and now they're driving Uber, right? And it's a natural correction, because China had more millionaires, more new millionaires than any other country on the planet for a long time. And and it was just like a millionaire machine. Like, you would just get into business, you fulfill a few orders, and bam, you're super wealthy. Real estate went out of control. All the things that happened here happened there as well, right? Real estate went out of control. Everything. And unlike us, where our government would come in and be like actually socialist and prop it up, and not want those CEOs to fail, and make really,
Silicon Valley Bank.
yeah, there would
Yep.
be really weird loans made and a bunch of bullshit. China's government is just letting them fail, and they're not propping them up, and they're allowing the natural correction, which I think is the right thing to do. I think that we should have done that. We should have just said, yeah, okay, the economy is the economy, and this is, and we need to keep government out of that as much as possible. So this is what we're going to do. And I'm there's way more to that. I'm grossly oversimplifying this. The average man on the street is really pissed off with the communist government of China right now, because they're watching people lose their jobs, or watching people not be able to get the jobs that they want. They're having to go work in factories, or going back to work other types of jobs that they don't want to work, because um, you know the they had a corporate job. They were now they got to go be a grunt or something. And so that so that it's the difference is that the Chinese government doesn't give a shit if their citizens criticize them, if they have a plan in place to get their economy back kind of under control. And they would rather suffer through it short term and have everybody pissed off than just placate everybody and then have this compounding problem. And we're on the other side of that coin, right? Legit. We just are. Our government never wants our people to feel pain. They never want people to have to make the hard choices. They never want CEOs to get downsized. They never want, factory workers to get laid off for 3 or 4 months, or any of that kind of stuff. And, um, so our government continuously props up our economy when it should probably stop. So, but at any
Well,
rate, and I'm probably not going to get too far into the weeds on that, but since you asked, I felt like it was a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the real estate market gets propped up pretty heavy. Like, so I ran for public office in Nevada last year, and I was
Which part of
surprised at
Nevada
how
are you in?
heavy. Vegas.
I was just in Vegas
You
for
should hit
SHOT
me up
Show.
next time. What's that?
I was in there. I was in town for SHOT Show.
Oh, word.
Media,
Yeah,
baby. Media.
it is fun town. I've been here for like 4 years. I absolutely adore it. I live in the house that hopefully in 50, 60 years I will die in, and that is that. There's quail, there's hummingbirds, and 20 minutes from home, there's all of the degeneracy a young man could ever want. And 500,000 people a week
Only you were
come
a
here
young
for.
man again.
I know. I've started. You know what? I had a.
I'm sorry. I've got a cutting humor. I apologize. I can't help myself.
I'm from New York. You're gonna struggle to offend me unless you try. Uh, I hit the. So I'm 41. I had a gray eyebrow for the first time. So that's a sign that the weather is changing in here. It started. I had like one in my beard, and then there's a little bit of the gray
Well, I'm
area.
clean
And
shaven, baby. I'm
is that
55 years old, man. If I let my beard come in, it's ugly, man.
my wife's never seen my cheeks. True story. True story. I could shave, and she would like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love it. I mean, but one of the things I was really surprised about was the amount of donations that come from real estate development. And like in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. But like you think, politicians, where do they get the money from? Well, so for example, when affordable housing projects get funded, then it compresses the amount of available housing and raises up the price for everyone that's actually paying for it. And so the solution is
Yeah.
to let
Isn't
the
that
market
weird?
expand. And it's just, yeah.
It's
So
the
then
opposite of what people think. And if you tell people that you're the devil, they don't believe you.
true.
I have sorry. So you what office did you run for?
State Senate District 6.
Nice.
The good people. Yeah,
in New York or in Vegas?
In Vegas. So my buddy was running in 18, and if him and I had both been elected, we'd make up about 10% of the state Senate power in the state. But we found the political machine that likes to hold power, so we learned from that. But yeah, that was a pretty fun thing.
Yeah.
And like it really was interesting, like because like they email you about like these candidate interviews. So they said, National Association, like my favorite was some like Mothers for Sensible Gun Control, and they're like, we want you to play. I'm like, look, I think civilians should have nukes, fighter jets, and anything the government has, the civilians should have twice of. We're never gonna see eye to eye. You can tell everyone that my position is you should never, if that's your single issue, I'm not your guy. But yeah, I got 28% of the vote with $1,500. My opponent had $100,000. But like real estate developers, they had a lot to say about different things. And so when I was seeing sort of like where the support came from, I wasn't, some person in a trench coat from a filthy industry wanting to dump poison into the, or at least I never saw that. Maybe they do that too. But Lake Mead's shrinking, so there's really not a lot of room to hide things in over there. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see how, because like the other thing is like on the housing, the majority of the land in the state of Nevada is owned by the federal government. So fucking Lombardo, he sends out this thing when Biden's president saying, we're sending him a strongly worded letter. It's like, well, you're the fucking governor of the wild, wild west, headquarters of Sid City. If you want land, it's out there. What the fuck is the federal government going to do? You can tell them not to come in. That's our dirt. End of fucking story. Be a man of action. But he gets real estate kickbacks and it helps keep his empire going. And so there's not just an incentive to not an incentive to solve the problem, but an incentive to keep having the problem. And I think that's the very special of hell that a lot of our political problems come from.
Well, it's interesting because, it's interesting to me, right?
Yeah.
That it seems like very few people actually understand the even rudimentary economics or politics. And the ones that do, especially the leftists, they just create new systems. Like they're not, and I'm pretty sure now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but non-fon's in the like neo-Keynesian thing, right?
He calls himself a neoliberal, but it's like selective. Like he's neoliberal when it comes to tariff. Anything else that slows down GDP that he actually likes, like climate policy, regulations, worker protections, all things that neoliberals don't like, he's all for. So he calls himself what he needs to win the argument.
Yeah, you won't pin him down. I don't think so it's just interesting.
It's like nailing Jello to a wall. He won't ever give you a clear definition of what he is.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Not wrong.
All right, gentlemen, I have a phrase I've been kicking around. I don't know if you guys have used this way. Are you familiar with the way I use shitlib? I'm so sick of them just saying you voted for Trump, so you're a maggot, and using this collapsing all conservatives into a monolith. So I say, "Good morning, libs and shit libs," and they go, "Well, what's a shit lib?" And it's a shit lib is the one with the TDS. A lib is just someone that advocates for liberal positions. So like
Yeah,
when you're
I mean,
talking about just because I encounter these shit libs out in the wild, and I go, I don't mind talking to people who even have offensive opinions, but there's no substance to it. It just seems all roads lead to Orange Man Bad or some similarly emotional
yes,
argument.
yes.
But yeah, so I've been floating that around, and I assume there are shit cons as well. But yeah, I've gotten
Well, there are
more
definitely
traction on that.
conservatives that are so aggravated that Trump won that they can't even see straight. Like it's actually crazy to talk to some of these people.
Yeah, and they say that we're all the same. Like, bro, no, we actually disagree quite a bit. There's just a foundation that we agree on.
Well, so let me. So last night I was positing that last night I was talking a lot about how everybody's like every time we am I not muted?
No, I hear you. I hear you. Oh,
I I thought I'm just trying to make sure I'm muted over on in
Yeah, Gibbs just pulled us all in.
oh,
yeah. I just want to make sure.
I'm gonna get the fuck over there then.
He's good at pulling dudes in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like a pole vaulter. Oh man. But so I this Epstein stuff, every time they release something from the Epstein files or something like that, I start looking for what they don't want me to be paying attention to, right? And
Yeah,
then the second thing is I'm like, look, it seems odd that the same people that will say that you shouldn't slut shame OF girls or you shouldn't um, you know uh, call Lily Phillips uh, any names or whatever because even though she fucked like 1,300 dudes in 11 hours or 1,100 dudes in 13 hours or whatever it was, but we did the math. There's something like 170 yards of cock that she took, and so you're not supposed to shame those people. Hey, that's their truth, brother. That's their
right.
truth, and that's who they are, and it's okay. Can't slut shame them. Can't do this. But yet, you look at like somebody that's running for president, and the Democrats will allow their candidate to be as degenerate as possible, but a Republican candidate looks at a woman in the wrong way, or has or does cheat on their wife or whatever. Um, and we were on Prime's panel the other night, and they were arguing with me about it. And I'm like, look, it's degenerate. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. But powerful men attract women, and basically, what you're all telling me is that you fuckers would turn down pussy, and we all know that's a lie.
Or at a
We know.
minimum, it's hard, and not all of you will, even if you want to.
Well,
The spirit is willing, but the flesh sometimes is distracted.
it's not even just that. Caroline Levitt was a money grubbing whore for marrying an older man. Anna Pauline Luna, whatever the fuck her name was a whore because she laid on a bed in Air Force One when she felt sick when she was pregnant. Like any woman in Trump's vicinity that is even nice to him is a whore. And like that, you see the videos of ICE officers that are black in the street. They're yelling racial slurs. When Larry Elder ran for Congress in California, a leftist woman dressed up like a fucking baboon or I don't remember, gorilla and threw bananas at him and shit like that. Like all these super racist tropes. As soon as somebody does race trading on them, like we saw people being called house N-words and shit and fucking like on what was it, CNN like a few years ago on Don Lemon's show before he got canned. So
yeah. Well, hopefully he goes to jail. Sarah, based on an average of 5 inches. I mean, obviously we know there's going to be some shorties, and we know, so we just went with an average size of 5 inches, 1,100 dudes. It works out to about 100. I think it was 170 yards of cock. So just doing math. I mean, it's just math. It's engineering, really.
It's just basic math, really.
Yeah, just basic math.
All right, Gibbs is showing. It's time.
Uh-oh. Is that your dog?
Yeah.
Why is your dog so pissed? He left. Why are you gay? Hood crickets? Dang. Hood crickets, he says. You have a backyard in Texas? Apparently so.
Oh, welcome all, everybody in. Let's see, we should be live now. Everybody good? Let me make sure I'm unmuted. All right, cool. Welcome everybody to Give Me a Break. Some of y'all are new, some of y'all aren't. We're getting back to it now. It's a nice 2-week hiatus. Gibbs had to do birthday degeneracy and all that. Gray doesn't know anything about that because he's a saint. But for the rest of y'all, I was hungover for about a week straight, and it was rough. So we're back now. And we're here to hand out some whoopings. I'm excited. We're going to talk about the economy under Trump, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I know there's some contention. Let's start with you, Average Debate Enjoyer. Tell us about what your thoughts on the economy are.
All right, Average Debate Enjoyer, YouTube and X. Generally, it's better than it was last year. If we go by every single metric, we were being told the economy was good under Biden. Pretty much every one of those metrics is better. The last PCE report for the 2 months that came out, October and November, was pretty damn good. We saw a lot of great that came out of it. A little bit of downside, but generally pretty good. PCI reports are looking good. We see inflation's cooling. That being said, it is a mixed bag because the trade war has not produced significant wins on an economic level within the United States, though it is helping to win us on the world stage, maybe get us better trade deals. Most of those trade deals with the smaller countries have just been accepting the 10% tariff and taking it like a man and doing nothing in retaliation. So I would argue that the trade war is the hindrance that's holding Trump back, and his inflation numbers right now are almost as bad as Biden's. So it can't be.
So, yeah, that's fun stuff. So that'll contribute to the economy. How about you? Go ahead, Castle. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Sure. So before I get into my thoughts, hand up if you think last year of Biden's term, the economy was good for you personally. All right. Hands up if you think the economy is good for you personally today.
It's actually doing pretty good for me.
Exactly what I thought. Most people would raise their hands and say it's better today, but the fact of the matter is that we live in a K-shaped economy. Even Gibbs just pointed out today, the rich are doing better. The middle class and poor are still struggling. We saw this under Biden. We're seeing it similarly under Trump. The Biden inflation rate hit a low of 2.4% in September. The Trump inflation rate hit a low of 2.3% and has only gone up since last April. So inflation isn't abating. We're seeing a lot of people still struggling to pay for food, groceries, housing costs are still high, mortgage rates are now going back up. So we live in an economy where there are two sides to it. I think you don't have to listen to us because it seems like most people today think the economy is going great, personally, but the polls say otherwise. It's not about whether we feel good. It's about whether the American people feel good. Trump's polling on the economy is pretty bad. His polling on inflation is even worse. So I don't see how we can say that the economy is doing well if the majority of Americans aren't feeling it. This happened under Biden, and it was Biden's biggest mistake when he would go out and say the economy was doing well. The voters disagreed. Trump is trying to do the same, and I think it's a mistake to do it now as well.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to one of our newest guests here, Mr. Streamrift. How you doing? What are you thinking about the economy today?
Wonderful. I find it interesting that we love collapsing the whole economy and the sun rises and sets on Trump. Whether you're conservative, you're a liberal, every day you're not complete unless you say Trump 30 to 47 times. So in this type of environment, we can take a look at the different sectors. And what we're seeing, most importantly for national security and for our economy, is we're seeing a lot of investment in not just actual infrastructure for AI and advanced technologies, but we're seeing a regulatory environment that's starting to make that much more attractive in the United States, which plays to some of our greatest strengths. The First Amendment gives us protection on speech. The 10th Amendment gives states the ability to regulate everything, including AI. So the federal government has no particularly strong standing to regulate it at a nationwide level, which means that the U.S. is primed for an exciting future in AI and advanced technologies, because if for no other reason, then we do not have the same legal restrictions other countries have. So for me, the future is very bright. Personally, I'm seeing projects take off. We're being able to move at speeds that frankly were never before possible. So from my perspective, I think there's always winners and losers, and the folks that are taking advantage of advanced tech and that are participating in that economy are doing really great. And then I think it's a mixed bag for everybody else, and we're going through a transition where we're going to be switching to new jobs, new roles, new functions. Companies are reorganizing around AI native flows, and people who are temporarily displaced by this will soon find likely better paying jobs, more value in the economy, and overall the U.S. will remain a strong backbone of the global economy. Daddy Trump, he's making that all possible.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to non-fun.
Yeah, I don't think the economy's in a entirely catastrophic place right now or anything, but I think we have good reason to believe that almost every one of Trump's policies is making it worse. And I think the way you should analyze this stuff is looking at the policies they're doing and look at the evidence that we have from economic theory, look at the evidence we have from historical stuff, and analyze whether or not the counterfactual would be different. Or would be better or worse. I think it's I know Tyler loves when I say this. It's a little silly to just look at the month-to-month data by president. That's not how you should do good causal inference. And there are certain things you can look at now. We have seen hiring rates go down. We've seen unemployment go up slightly. Those are, I think, plausibly related to the tariffs and the uncertainty from them, because we know we have good evidence from past experience that uncertainty harms investments, that tariff shocks harm asset values, that tariffs increase prices, and we've already seen tariffs increase prices. I think the deportations as well are likely constraining some job growth in the industries that rely on them. If Trump actually goes through with any of his stuff of restricting high school immigration, restricting H-1B visas, that would harm our innovation in America a lot.
Hold on. Let him finish. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I think that would harm our ability to innovate in the U.S. And I think Trump, from my knowledge on the AI thing, has not been super deregulatory with regard to AI. Is my understanding. I thought he wanted to. I forget what the regulation was, but there was some regulation, or it might have been preventing states from regulating it, which I guess is that would be deregulation if I remember that correctly. But on the I think a big reason why we haven't seen things been worse is because Trump doesn't follow through with all of his crazy, insane shit. We haven't seen effective tariff rates go as high as the announced rate. He didn't follow through on the interest rate cap for credit cards. He withdrew his nomination for the crazy BLS commissioner. But ultimately, it's totally unacceptable policy. A lot of it's just based on lies, or at best misunderstandings of how things like trade deficits work. And we have every reason to believe the economy would be doing better if Trump was not in office.
All right, thank you so much. And last but not least, Mr. Grid.
Hey, welcome everybody.
You're muted.
Glad to be here. I'm sorry.
I thought on my end. You muted on your end.
No.
Yeah, Grid's muted.
You've got to unmute yourself in Discord.
Why are you good?
Discord. I was trying to be polite though. All right, so welcome. Thanks for having me, Gibbs. Again, it's great. It's gonna be a great debate tonight. I really enjoyed the Cope Fest that I just heard from Non-Fawn, talking about possible this and maybe that and all of this nonsense. It's great. I love it. It's wonderful. I really love big spending liberals and neo-Keynesians and social democrats, or whatever the fuck, democratic socialists, pardon me. I always get that backwards. They always talk about how, the things that are working today shouldn't be working, and whatever nonsense that they want to throw out there to spend more money and and do more things is going to work and stimulate the economy and pump trillions and trillions of dollars back into nonsense and wealth redistribution and all kinds of cool things, new catchphrases like that. Cradle to grave programs. I love cradle to grave programs. Those are fucking awesome. But we're only 1 year into Trump's second term, which was interrupted, obviously, by the absolute failure, abysmal failure of Biden, where we went from most people could get a mortgage under 3% interest, and we went to a cap of almost 11% if you couldn't get prime, which most people couldn't. And that is terrible. 11% on a mortgage, by the way, is soul crushing in the economy. Soul crushing. I don't care what else you want to say about Trump, him getting the interest rate back down to where normal people can afford a normal-ish mortgage of 6-7% is wonderful for the economy, and you can't deny that. If you do, you're just absolutely insane. 100%. Our economy is growing strong at over 4% in key quarters. Stocks are hitting records. Precious metals are up. Basically, you can't point to a singular segment of actual wealth and say, yeah, it sucks, it's bad. With the minor exception of maybe imported goods, which I don't give a fuck about. By the way, Non-Fon preached the gospel of how tariffs were going to ruin the economy. Trump was going to tank the fucking economy. He preached the gospel of this. And I told him, I'm like, Non-Fon, I don't believe so. I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe what's going to happen is it's going to fuck everybody up if they don't play ball with us. And you know what? China's economy is in the toilet right now. It really is. And they're really having a lot of problems over there. And you know why? It's because of fucking tariffs. Because Trump said, my dick's bigger, and this is how this is going to play. And you know what? That's exactly how it's played out. I honestly don't really care. There's nothing you can point to as a success in Biden's administration that wasn't part of a Trump era program. And now we're looking at Trump putting back in key pieces, going back to a more Austrian model instead of this neo bullshit. And I like it. I like it a lot. Now, does Trump do everything he says he's going to do? Fuck no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He says shit to trigger people like Non-Fon into like freaking out and their hair's on fire. They're running down the hallway. Oh shit, this is going to suck. And then of course he doesn't do that. And we all know that. And it's fun and it's great and it's awesome. Anyway, the socialist playbook, as we all know, ends in debt, dependency, stagnation, stagflation, all of those things. And we know that. And so we got to keep it up. And now look, rightfully so, we can label Trump the most socialist president in recent history, but his economic policies at least are sound. And I'm going to yield my time at that because this is going to be fucking great.
Excited. All right, fair warning, guys. I am in a particularly rage mode mood today. So if people get muted, don't take it personally. We'll get you unmuted and you can yell again in a second. So I might just be trying to get order and I don't feel like dealing with trying to get in. All right, so
nice today, though. You're looking pretty swag.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, so I guess we'll. This one, I think the vest is new. I've had the jacket and the shirt for a while. Anyway, distractions. Co-Fandy, by the way, they're getting better. I just bought some tracksuits from them. Big fan. Expanding out of the luxury clothes business. Big fan. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about this bullshit. What are we thinking about gas prices? Trump put out a meme a couple weeks ago, and which I think is hilarious that the administration puts out memes. Big fan of that. But they put out a meme about gas prices, and I think that's something that speaks to the average person. Do we think gas prices are a good indicator of the economy? What are some other good indicators of how the economy is doing? Let's go with there. We'll open it up, and y'all can attack.
Yeah, so that's I kind of wanted to address that in the greater point of addressing most of Trump's policies are making the economy worse. I think it's just tariffs that might be making it worse. Everything else has been great. Massive deregulation, going hard on U.S. energy. We're seeing the prices plummet of U.S. energy, and we're exporting significantly more of it, which geopolitically allows people to leave Russian energy as well. Tax cuts, a ton of exports. All these things are great for the economy, and what we saw is the predicted Q4 growth of the U.S. economy is 5.4. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean
that's down by now. That was because the way GDP now works. It gets certain data before it gets to trade.
It's down to potentially 4.3 to 5.4 right now from the Atlanta Fed. Yes, I saw that.
Yes,
but
it's down.
At the end of the day,
it's down because the GDP now they get different data at different times, and sometimes imports don't subtract from GDP, but the net effect
that's
of
still
imports from GDP is zero.
substantial. Substantial quarterly
That's
growth.
true. That's true. That is good growth, but that's annualized growth, and most of that growth is so basically making up for the contraction that we had in Q1 GDP. If you look at like what 2025 GDP overall is estimated to be, it's like I think it's roughly 2.7%. It's not estimated to
Q1
be
was before the
particularly
tariffs, right? That started in April.
for the
That's
most
Q2.
part, but it was expectations game, right? It was because companies were delaying investment so that they could stock up on inventories before the tariffs came into
Yeah,
effect.
but we saw after that happened, after the election ended, the imports leveled
Hold
off.
on.
and
Do you
they're
recognize
at
as a
average
negative? Do you
2024
recognize
numbers.
that is
Hold
dead weight
on, let
loss?
me get the whole
Tyler, do you
sentence
see
out.
that
Let me
is
get
dead
the
weight
whole
loss?
sentence out. Let me get the whole sentence out. After Trump won, we did see a spike in imports, but they leveled back out, and now they're back up to higher 2024 numbers, while we're also seeing exports rise substantially. October was the closest month to closing our trade deficit that we've ever seen, and that means more output from U.S. companies, less output from other foreign companies, more
That's
upscaling,
totally false.
more
That's
jobs.
totally false.
Absolutely
Hold on.
not.
That's
You admitted
totally
to it
that
when
is
we did a
totally false.
one-on-one. We already admitted
That's a
to it when we did the
fundamental.
one-on-one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a fundamental misunderstanding
Go
of
ahead.
trade deficits. Trade deficits obviously do not necessarily displace U.S. production. That's a totally insane, obviously bullshit
They do.
assumption.
When you're selling significantly more goods, you can upscale
hold on, just to be
significantly
clear,
higher.
Yeah, let Don go. Go ahead.
do you concede that companies delaying investments, using their money, using their cash flow to stock up an inventory instead of doing productive investments, that is deadweight loss? That leads to lower growth.
It could potentially, but that was months
Could potentially.
ago that was months ago that happened in May and March. That shit was gone
But
by June.
your point was, that was before the tariffs, but
Yeah,
it was
that was gone
expectations.
by
People
June,
expected tariffs to be in place,
and now it's balanced out.
The mere expectation.
Hold on, let Don finish. Let Don finish. Go
He
ahead.
asked a question. I'm just saying, in January of the next year, that's leveled out. That stock has been long gone since June.
I'm saying your point about that being before the tariffs. What I take from that is you're trying to imply that actually clearly the tariffs can't be that bad then or whatever.
No,
I'm telling you,
companies
import. Yes, I'm talking about Q1 growth too. I'm telling you, companies delaying investments so they can stock up in inventories. That is deadweight loss. That is bad for the economy. That is negative for growth. Obviously, once the tariffs were, repeat that.
They're also delaying investments because of interest rates. Interest rates weren't coming down just because the Fed kept getting inflation.
I think that's more accurate. I think that's a more
Good.
accurate.
So that is kind of the whole point of interest rates, or half the point.
Yeah, and when the Fed gets every
to
single
with
prediction
wrong,
wrong,
as well,
and they're delaying interest rate drops because they're getting every single month wrong.
Look.
Hold on.
Hold on. So I think you should just look at like nominal GDP growth. I think nominal GDP growth is probably roughly the best indicator of where the stance of monetary policy is. Nominal GDP growth was not constrained that much. It's been it overshot during COVID, and it's been, to my knowledge, roughly 4%, basically where it should be since like 2022. So I don't think it's had like substantial effects, but like rates were more restrictive compared to the Taylor rule for most of Biden's term than where interest rates are now. You can see that's true.
That was because they got inflation wrong then as well.
Wait,
Tyler. Do you can see that for longer under Biden's term, rates were above the Taylor rule than it has been under.
Yes,
Trump's
if
term.
you compare a 4-year term to a 1-year partial term, then yes, you are correct, because that's 4 times the amount of time.
Well, even so, I believe even in Trump's first term, but I think they are. I think right now the federal funds rate is like slightly above where most of the Taylor rules suggest it would be, but it was under where the Taylor rate suggests it would be under Trump's term this year. I believe.
I want to go to grid here, but first, like to Non-Fon's point, I remember debating economy on many panels, and on one of the panels we were talking about the jobs reports, right? And we were talking about how the Biden jobs report would say one thing, and then it would come out, instead of 3.2%, it'd be like 2.7 or 2.8. And I don't remember if it was jobs report or if it was the interest rates or GDP growth. I don't remember which one. I've had a weird day today, so I haven't been as prepared as I'd hoped. But it's in my whatever. But one of the reports recently came back, and it was way off. And to me, that's almost the same argument that I was making against the DIMS, right? Like I was like, oh, okay, they're saying something high, and then and people invest and do stuff on that, and then it comes back, and then the report's way low. I don't know which one's specific off the top of my head. I'll look for it in a moment. But Grid, what do you think about what's been said so far? You look like you were trying to get in there.
I think they were getting kind of in the weeds there. I mean, the reality is that the GDP growth through deregulation and tax relief had GDP hitting 4.3 ish, which was annualized in Q3. And that's the fastest in the last 2 years of Biden's term. It just was. You can't deny that. I really don't give a shit about any other theory. I only care about what the numbers were, and what the numbers were is it was the fastest in 2 years, which is crazy, right? It's just weird.
I think when I bring up job growth under Biden, you're going to say the exact opposite. But
obviously,
okay.
I think that's kind of my point. Like that I was making non-fun. Go ahead. Good.
That's driven by consumer spending. Obviously, we have people who are willing to spend more. They have more confidence because they have Trump in office. He, as president, inspires confidence, and you can't get away from that, right? And he just does now. And some AI, and you could argue
evidence for that.
You could argue AI investment, spurred some of it, and some other, there's some other things back there on the back end that could or probably do. 2017 tax cuts, for example, come to mind. But I just don't. I don't really see where we're going to argue GDP growth. Now, I can predict that what Nanfan's going to say, because I know that we have a slowing in the workforce, right? Even though GDP has grown, we only had 580,000 new jobs created, which is a slowdown previous comparatively. I'm sure that that's something he's going to mention, and he's right about that. But a lot of that is compared to back just a few years ago during COVID, when we had a construction boom. And those jobs just don't exist now. We're not building as many houses. We're not going to build as many houses. And I think that's normalization of the market. I don't know if he wants to argue that or not. I don't know that it's worth the time to. We could just accept that it is. But certainly either way, I'm good with it.
If I can, I think.
I think somebody slow down.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm picking on non-fun here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Castle. Go ahead. We'll Castle the non-fun. You can go, then we'll go to stream with. Go ahead.
One of the things Grid brought up was consumer confidence. And I don't know if I can share my screen or not, but consumer confidence.
I can. If you send it to me, I can share it. I might be able to share it.
But consumer confidence numbers came out a couple weeks ago. It's the lowest it's been since COVID hit in 2020. So consumer confidence is at an all-time low since the COVID low. And again, I think that you can point at GDP. Again, growth under Biden with GDP was just as good. You can say it's 0.2, 0.3% higher under Trump, but nobody really cared about GDP under Biden either, because it doesn't mean that people are getting money in their pockets to afford basic goods. And I think that that's the problem here, is that whatever we say is not going to change the fact that the polling shows that the economy and inflation is minus 20, minus 25% underwater for Trump. And I don't know how else you can explain that.
Oh, so you should be able to share, by the way, now, if you want to. Go ahead, non-fun. Then we'll go to stream with. Go ahead.
I would also hope that we would.
Why do you hate
that we would concede that like uncertainty, but like we have indexes of specifically trade uncertainty, but also just general economic uncertainty is very high right now, mostly because of the whole Trump back and forth thing on tariffs.
So why do you hate American technology workers? Non-fun. You advocated for H-1B, which was originally offered as a solution for saying, "Hey, we don't have."
Wait, before we can talk about H-1Bs, but can we address like any of the 500 things, right? So I just want
Grid. Your opening, you said H-1B. I took a note. I'm going back to where you were. We can go talk about some other things here.
Yeah, I have issues with like a ton of the shit.
Let's go ahead and run with what you talked about.
A ton of the shit a lot of people said. Wait, so I just want to be clear, partly for anyone who cares about the confidence thing. We've seen the dollar go down partially against other currencies go down, partially because a lot of other investors in foreign countries are selling their U.S. assets. Do you guys concede that is true?
I'm with you on that. I'm not saying confidence is pretty low. It's not because of Taco Trump, though. That's a silly narrative, but it is low because
consumer spending is up, and that indicates confidence in the market from Americans. Sure, foreign nationals will do what foreign nationals do.
Grid, do you think consumer spending is up because things cost more or cost less?
I think it's a combination of things do cost a little bit more for sure. But again,
Do you think that richer folks are spending more money and folks in the middle class are struggling still, or do you think middle class is doing okay?
well, I'd have to believe that there's such a thing as a middle class to begin with, but let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say that
But you don't think there's a middle class?
not really, no.
Okay.
I think we have
Is
an
this a-
idea of a middle class, but I don't know that it's that it exists.
I recognize consumer spending has been like on an upward trend because it's typically on an upward trend, right? The question is whether or not Trump's policies are making that better or worse. And I think all the evidence we have suggests that it's making it worse. So I would do you guys, do any of you can see that the evidence suggests that tariffs because I'm about to say, so for example, like that study that everyone likes to cite for the San Francisco Fed, right? They found that tariff shocks lead to a negative wealth shock because they reduce future growth expectations because they're an inefficient tax, and they lead to increased uncertainty. Those are both things that lead to, in the short run at least, decreased consumer spending.
Tariffs are actually working in our favor and improving our trade ratio. I would never concede that.
But even so, that's not true. I mean, if you just look at like the trade deficit relative to GDP, I mean, that's like there was a big increase before the tariffs were implemented, and then it's like come back up to basically where it was. If you guys like understand how savings and investment work, then it would make tariffs don't necessarily reduce the trade deficit as a lot.
And investment work, and I'm buying
companies. Grid, what is on the macro level? What is savings minus investment equal?
I'm sorry, savings minus investment.
Pop quiz. What's
national
this word?
Savings versus national investment equal?
You know he's a multi-million-dollar business owner, right?
And we're talking about macroeconomics. What is national savings minus national investment equal?
I can't tell you right.
It's a trade deficit. It's a trade deficit or a capital account surplus. That's what I'm saying is I'm saying I think the evidence suggests that a lot of trade deficits are not driven by imported goods. They're driven by decisions over how much to save, decisions over how much to tax, decision about that foreigners make over how much to invest in the U.S. And I don't believe you have any evidence to the contrary of that, quite frankly. That doesn't mean it. I mean,
was it India just did a $500 billion investment into the United States? Isn't that what they did?
That increases the trade deficit.
Sure,
if it's investment,
but that's investment.
It's good for us, though.
Country. It's good for us. It may be bad for them, but
really,
if you think, why do you care about the trade deficit?
For that metric. No,
Grid, you recognize the trade deficit is entirely offset by investment.
You did.
Yes, you did. You said the tariffs are improving our trade balance.
Because you literally said that China would not play ball with us and it would hurt us more than it does them, and yet it is not. Our economy is growing. Theirs is shrinking.
That doesn't, first of all, that's not even, again, that isn't even incompatible. I'm not sure exactly what predictions I made. I don't believe I ever came out and made like strong predictions. I don't believe that's true. But I stand by everything I said with regards to all the evidence suggests from both theory and empirical evidence that tariffs do reduce growth. You can say our economy is growing.
Okay, so
but again, the question is always what is the counterfactual?
Okay, go ahead. Tell me why our economy is growing then.
Great. Do you think... Let's
don't answer a question with a question. Let's say the question.
I think the economy is growing because there's still creative destruction. There's still workers being employed to more productive firms and people coming up with new ideas to make new stuff. Yeah. And
tax cuts, deregulation, energy spikes as well. Most of Trump's policies are good for the
I think the deregulatory stuff has like some effect on growth. I do think that is true.
Let's go to you, Steve. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the hope of all of the future of humanity right now?
I actually can't hear any of you because
okay, let's go one at a time. Steve, you go ahead. You've been waiting a second. Go ahead, and then we'll go back. I'm sure non-funds will respond.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
As someone who's probably never created a job, you probably don't understand this, but the fact of the matter is regulatory certainty is more important than getting uncertainty and you don't know what's going on. So while I don't agree with what Daddy Trump has been doing with AI, he has been providing certainty in the market and stability, which lets folks be able to make decisions based off of what's actually going to happen instead of being afraid to invest. The American legal system has the strongest foundation for any AI development anywhere in the world because of our free speech protections and our capitalism. So we're in an environment where we've seen enormous amount of money go into infrastructure on this. And you can say, well, I don't like AI, or I don't think the government should be involved. I don't like that the US took 10% ownership in Intel. I think that that's a bit wrong, to put it mildly. However, fundamentally, you're sitting here saying that when AI is literally growing at rates we've never seen technology for humans ever grow again. And Trump has said, hey, let's make it really stable so we know what we're working with. Maybe they're bad laws, maybe they're wrong guidelines, but at least there's some stability. We can start building forward. And you're saying this is a bad president for our economy. It's insane.
So I'm relatively pro AI, and I don't like AI regulation. I don't think there's actually been that much of it, even from Democrats. Even though at least I understand they might have some rhetoric about it. I don't think they've actually proposed very much stuff.
I mean, they're censoring the internet already.
I would number one, I don't think there's any evidence that you can provide that Trump giving regulatory certainty over AI is more important than the uncertainty he's given through all the other policies that he's doing. You can just look, like, we have aggregate measures of like tariffs, like deportations and immigration restrictions. Like some of the weird,
we're going back to immigration. What about H-1B? Like, why do you hate American tech workers? You said H-1B is necessary
because they're white. Hold on. I got like, we can talk about that. I got like 10.
You go over like 3 dozen things. I bring
today.
2 points that I care about, and then you want to one around. That's fine. Go for it. Go for it.
Because I want to respond to like 5 different things that are put on the table that I think are like totally inaccurate. So
I'm sorry that it's hard to hear this much truth in one sitting.
I want to add.
Hold on. Let Nonfon respond. Yeah, let Nonfon respond. And he is fighting 3 of y'all right now. It seems like. So yeah, go ahead, Nonfon. Try to get everybody's things. I'll give you a second here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that the regulatory certainty around AI regulation is more important than the tariffs or immigration restrictions or deportations or any of the weird executive orders he does about, oh, I'm gonna ban institutional home buyers from buying homes, right? And that's probably that's not been enforced to my understanding. There's no evidence of that. You can look at indexes of economic uncertainty. I just want to go back, like, for grid, like, just to be clear, if we do a minimum wage somewhere and then employment increases, you can't say, oh, look, we did a minimum wage and employment increased, therefore employment or minimum wage increases employment, or doesn't decrease employment. So there's a fixed effect. And all the do you concede all the evidence suggests?
Oh, yeah, let Nonfon finish. Go ahead.
Do you concede all the evidence suggests that the fixed effect of tariffs on growth is negative?
No, I do not. I won't concede that because the evidence proves that currently it's net positive. So I'm not going to concede that at all. What I would like to ask is, you said there were multiple things in response to StreamRift. Name one. There were multiple issues. Name one. Just tell me what the issue is.
Multiple.
Yeah, what are your 5 issues?
What I was saying is, there's multiple things I want to respond to. So one was just that point. We should be thinking of the counterfactual. You want to talk about
that. He has. I'm sorry. Maybe we need to back up. StreamRift asked you a question. You responded by saying, "Well, there are multiple things that I could say about this, or multiple indicators." Or which one? I mean, pick one. When I just, it's not.
Oh, do you mean economic uncertainty?
I don't believe you. It's just.
I guess he wants you to go. I guess it's just a paraphrase. He just wants you to go through all your points real quick that you had, because you said there was multiple things.
One guy asked
just bullet point. Just bullet point. What are they?
He
bullet
asked
point,
you
what
a
are the
question,
5 things? Yeah.
And then you. I felt like you it, I just wanted to.
Yeah, 25
well,
points.
I don't know how I die. I think what you're referring to when I said you can look at a number of different uncertainty indexes.
No, I'll recycle this for you, Nonfon, and I'm just trying to deal with the clarity here. I have 3 points that I want to talk to you about. You said, no, we have 5 things. And Grid's literally just saying, what are the 5 bullet points? So you're saying there's these things that you want to talk about. Great.
I was just about to go over that. And then you guys said, no, that wasn't what you're talking about. So one was the thing about Grid. I wanted to pressure Grid on comparing to the counterfactual rather than just saying that the economy is still growing overall. I want to eventually get to the interest rate stuff, because the president not control interest rates. Even the Federal Reserve does not really control mortgage rates. They control short-term interest rates. And I think there's reason to believe that the big beautiful bill and the tax cuts are going to actually increase long-term interest rates, because they increase the U.S.'s total borrowing. And that's going to be bad for mortgage holders overall. Uncertainty is also.
The big beautiful bill gave a huge tax incentive. It went from $10 million to a $15 million tax incentive to invest in qualified small business stock. That has to encourage investors. I hear people excited about that, because
that might
if
shift
you go over 6 years. No, if you go over 6 years, right? You sit on it for 6 years, 100% cap gains exemption. It makes it very attractive to investors. But you don't like that? That's not
that might shift investment from large businesses to small businesses, or shift a little bit from consumption to investment. But there's no that's not going to that won't have a huge net effect on efficient. That's why they're large.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true. What's the evidence that it's not
over
true?
time?
$9 trillion in investment this year on the books, and 18
totally
trillion
false.
from.
Totally false. That's a totally false number.
what's
Like
been
you can
reported.
look
It's
at
fake
there's
news.
double
That's
they
what's
literally
been reported.
they literally double counted like fucking Heinz making a making
the double count.
new
No, that's the Trump
investment
number.
in the US
Trump's saying
because they
22
literally
trillion.
no
What
that's
actually
the White
reported
House.
is
I know
Listen,
you're
we can trust Trump's
you're
reporting
citing
on the
White-
economy just as much as we can trust the Democrats reporting on voter
said
fraud.
the
You know what I'm
White
saying?
House-
You're citing the White House number.
So,
Most of those things are either like they literally counted McDonald's hiring workers in that number. A lot of those things
Trump's
are.
numbers
And
are
Biden
bad.
hired
He's saying
people.
22
A lot of
trillion.
I think this
What's
is
being
the White House
reported
numbers.
is
I'm telling you
7.5.
why they're bad still.
I'm giving you
All
the
right.
White House
Literally,
number,
they're
and I'm
counting a
giving
lot
you
of
the
stuff that
actual
would
All right, all right, all right.
They're counting a lot of stuff that would have happened anyways, and they're counting a lot of things that probably aren't going to happen, like nebulous commitments from certain countries that are not legally binding.
Hold on. Doesn't every government? I'm going to go to Castle after this, but doesn't every government count things that were already going to happen in their economic reports, though? Like
I don't know what the fuck you mean by that.
Well, so okay, I guess I'm not going to bash the Biden admin, right? If like you just said, okay, they're counting these things that are already going to happen regardless of what Trump did, right? Growth, some of these growth things, no matter what, right? So that's kind of like with Biden. Oh, I'm going to count X, Y, Z happening regardless if it was going to happen because of what he did or not. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like, and I'm not bashing either one. I'm just saying, wouldn't every government, every president do that, like for the report?
Not really. So this is there's a tiny grain of truth that I don't even want to grant you because I give you an inch, you're going to take a mile. But like obviously presidents always will be like, oh, this many jobs were created under my administration, and people like falsely assume causation to them. That is true, but that's not
Biden
the
hired
president or the
federal
executive branch.
employees.
Or like, well, the BLS makes that number. They're part of the executive branch, but that's not like the White House putting out a number of things that they attribute to the president. That's like Biden or other people taking credit for stuff that happened under them. You can say a lot of that would have happened anyways, but this is what Tyler is citing, I believe, is like literally, I don't know who made it, but it was like Council of Economic Advisors, like White House website, where they attribute a bunch of this bullshit directly to Trump, and that's just obviously not true.
Number.
Let's go to.
No, I know what you're. I know it. Look, link me what you're citing then.
Those are Trump's trade deals that he's bringing in trillions of dollars in investment, like with Saudi Arabia.
First of all, again, first of all,
trade deal, and they spent $500 billion right after that.
True. First of all, again, none of you guys don't actually care about investment. But second of all, just to be clear, you're citing the White House website still.
Hold on, before we go down that rabbit hole.
Just to be clear, I'm on the White House website right now, and it's total U.S. and foreign investment 9.6 trillion. And again, this literally includes McDonald's hiring workers. It includes a fuck ton of stuff that would happen anyway. A lot of these are nebulous commitments.
Yeah, when you cut taxes and regulations,
Tyler, do you can see Tyler, do you can see the EU doesn't even have the ability to enforce the $600 billion that they supposedly committed?
Yeah, they could break that deal, and then we could punish them with tariffs again, or some other kind of mechanism. The same way we're punishing China for breaking.
Wait, I'm just wait. Hold on. They're not breaking. They're not even like breaking the deal. You can see that they don't even have the EU does not have the legal authority to enforce that.
They'll find a way, just like they found a way to raise their drug prices. When
Trump but we can count that on Trump's White House website. That's it. That's a real number.
Yeah,
we should take super seriously.
Yeah,
that's great.
Let's
By the way,
get
I'm pretty sure total foreign investment.
They were allies.
Okay, all right.
Hold on. I'm pulling up Fed right now. I'm pulling up Fed right now. Wait, just to be clear, total FDI in the U.S. for quarter 3, 2025 was $218 billion. So you're not going to get this is absolutely, at least so far, showing up in the foreign investment numbers. Quarter 2, 2025, it was $500 billion. So what are we?
Before you answer that, let's go to Castle. I know he's trying to get it. Go ahead, Castle.
Thanks, Gibbs. Yeah, so the thing with investment, even if you grant that to Trump and the administration, it's what is it going to do and how is it affecting the economy today? Because under Biden, he had the whole infrastructure week and project, and that money takes time. It takes literal years, even after he's president, to really turn into effect. And there are things that under the first Trump presidency, there were promises of manufacturing being done or companies overseas coming to build factories over, and that doesn't happen. Same thing happened with Biden. So you can't really count on that yet. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Trump is getting investment. It's a great thing, and I definitely think we shouldn't be against that at all. But the thing is, we're not seeing anything today happening because
Well,
these
hold
things
on.
take time.
I'm
What's
confused.
happening
He's saying
today is that we
building
have hold on, Gert, one sec. We have jobless claims and we have the jobless rate increasing, and we're seeing that companies are spending more. I sent a link to in the group chat that retail inflation, ever since the tariffs have gone into place, has risen since the decline since the Biden administration. So we do know that companies are spending more. They have more capital expenditure that they're spending on things like data centers. And this thing also affects AI and how we're investing in AI. China is kicking our butt right now with AI investment. And it's because all the tariffs that we impose on companies, they have to spend more for chips. They have to spend more for raw natural reasons and rare earth elements. So these things definitely have an effect on our tech
China has an
companies. And we're
export
seeing
on
that-
chips.
Wait.
An
I'm
export
sorry.
cap.
I'm sorry, Caswell. I'm sorry, Caswell. You're entirely wrong. Most of the
He's not
AI shit
sorry.
is exempt. That's why AI is booming because they got exemptions
Right.
from the fucking
Yeah,
tariffs.
no, yeah.
Whereas an export
hold on,
tax
wait.
on China.
Yeah, guys,
How is that
Well,
affecting
wait,
companies?
Nvidia,
Castle,
first of all,
hold on.
Nvidia agreed to do an unconstitutional export tax in exchange for being able to sell to China.
Unconstitutional. Oh,
Wait,
I
but
think that's
not fine.
constitutional.
I bet no one has standing to sue, but I bet if someone did have standing to sue, it probably would be unconstitutional because it's basically an export tax, which is not legal under the Constitution.
Hold on, not fine. And if I'm wrong, I'll totally take it if I'm wrong. But outside of Nvidia, are you saying that all the chip companies are non-exempt or exempt from
It's not
chips?
It's not all of it, but like Apple, for example, has a deal where like they
gotta
and
walk
Apple
my
doesn't do
dog
that much
somewhere.
AI stuff, but they don't pay tariffs on a lot of their imports.
Got it.
I forget the
Okay.
exact.
Yeah. No. If some
percentage,
companies are
but
exempt,
it's quite a bit of it.
that's totally a fair point.
I mean,
against that.
just to be clear, China doesn't actually make the AI chips. They do a lot of work with the AI software and some of the other technologies, but Taiwan was
Right.
making most of the chips. And we actually don't. I don't even know if we have a tariff against Taiwan right now, but if we do, it's probably low. And beyond that, one of the very first things Trump did, like his first 90 days in office, was make a deal to move the chip plant that had been moved from California to Taiwan back to California. I don't know if that's actually happened yet, but it is on the agenda.
And don't forget, Israel also provides a significant portion of chips to us as well.
Okay.
Okay.
and
No.
Israel
Fair
also,
point. And Fred,
but
just to-
you said something really interesting, and
Yeah.
actually we've kind of gone around this. So first of all, when we talk about the it seems disingenuous when we talk about that we don't have the job growth that we want, but at the same time, you both have mentioned H-1Bs and the lack of H-1Bs, the number of H-1Bs being restricted as being a problem. And I'm very fascinated by that because first of all, I have no problem with H-1Bs as they're coming over as they're needed. I see I have two basic problems with H-1Bs. First of all, it means that we, for whatever reason, are not educating our citizens enough to take those jobs, which means we need to do better as a country, as a society, to get people through school properly and train them to be doctors, computer programmers, whatever. I really don't feel like we need to prop up India's education system and have them come over here and do it.
Well, hold on.
I'm not done
Go
yet.
ahead.
And the second thing is that if we are taking doctors and specialists and things like that away from India, Pakistan, wherever, now we're robbing those people of a needed resource because obviously they still have sick people there. They still need surgeons. They need all of that. And yet we're bringing them over here. And I think so we basically, we fuck two countries at once, ours and theirs, by having these H-1Bs being so widely available. And I disagree with the not the practice, but the number and the idea that we need to increase that number for some stupid ass reason. Otherwise, basically what you are all saying is that Americans are too fucking stupid to do the job.
Well,
and
well,
that's,
I
and
mean,
that's a serious
wait,
problem.
just
Hold on, before-
number
before-
one,
I really want to
number one,
why you both mentioned H-1B and the lack of H-1B as being a
No,
problem.
that was just not-
well, I want to. Hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
before you
remember
go, I'm going to take first crack at this because
Go ahead.
okay. Listen, why don't you, instead of looking at it like this, look at it like manifest destiny. We're manifest destinying that resource out of their country. So India, they got all these doctors. Yeah, well, sure. Well, hey, maybe, I don't know. Listen, but what I'm saying is, if we're looking at India, the argument would be we're taking their cream of the crop. Fuck them bitches. We're conquering their education people while we improve ours by bringing them over here and hopefully putting them into citizenship programs and they permanently become Americans. That'd be the argument. And the other argument I would make is manufacturing. I deal with on the manufacturing side. I have to deal with H-1B visas, and we'll get them in. And then we'll push them through the green card process, citizenship process, right? Yeah. And then I'll get them here and whatever. And I would get Americans to do that, but they don't want to do this shit, right? So okay, well, who am I going to go to? And I think part of it is the manufacturing aspect, right? I want manufacturing to come back to America. I think that's important. So I'm a little bit torn. I think that there needs to be some kind of redoing of all the immigration system. I think we're all probably in agreement on that. However, I feel like this is maybe a target that's getting included that is not necessarily something that maybe shouldn't be our focus. But I know non-final had a different objection, I'm sure. Go ahead. You were going saying something when I cut you off there.
Yeah, number one, I mean, at least Gibbs recognizes it, but I love how the America first, it just evaporates out of your body. Now you have this really big concern for India. It doesn't matter that we're tariffing them, but taking their doctors is so evil because it's going to hurt India a ton.
Saying that we do two wrong things at the same time.
The problem is that H-1B.
I mean, if you think it's wrong, presumably you think it's gonna. That's the concern. Then you're concerned because it's wrong. But second of all, I think
it's wrong without being concerned about it. I wouldn't describe that to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so H-1B. Hold up. Can I
wait?
H-1B was originally meant for.
I've never seen convincing evidence that H-1B visas are complements rather than substitutes rather than complements to native-born workers. There's a lot of clustering effects that go on. I know all you fucking conservatives hate California so much. You hate gay San Francisco. All right. The reason a lot of tech companies still found themselves make a startup in San Francisco is because that's where all the talent is. Having more talent in an area attracts more investors to that area. So you should care about the clustering effects there that happen. And the H-1B system is a lottery, so we have decent causal evidence that firms that hire more H-1B workers actually see more total employment and they see higher growth a lot of times. And secondly, you should care about spillover effects. Obviously, these are tech workers, just the illustrative example. There's some hard data on this, but imagine an Indian H-1B worker who takes an American's job, at fucking Adobe. Let's say I grant that the price of labor for U.S. tech workers, native-born tech workers, fell. In that case, Adobe's probably going to be able to invest more, and they're going to create more software, and that software goes on to help a lot more consumers and also a lot more businesses. A lot of businesses use Adobe software, right? It makes them more productive, and the spillover effects from that can massively outweigh any of the cost of native-born workers.
Go work at a fucking restaurant. We're going to give your jobs to these people and offshore them for half the fucking wages in America.
Bro, that's exactly what I said.
H-1B has very clearly led to a lot of technology workers in America not having jobs while we have H-1B workers. And this is the most offensive part of it. The H-1B sponsors and stuff know this. They will run job ads in unknown publications to intentionally create a paper trail that they pretended that they were looking for somebody. Meanwhile, I know tons of devs right here in Las Vegas. You guys in Silicon Valley think you're so sharp, but guess what? We got some bare knuckle engineers here. And this is despite the fact that all of these opportunities have been going towards this program that's being abused. So it's not all of the opportunities, but it's enough to shift the market. And it means that local talent doesn't get developed. It means we're not investing in our own future. And you're out of your fucking mind to say any different.
But Streamer,
I'm
maybe just.
I can cite some papers to you if you want. I don't know.
But, hold on. You don't.
2017. Okay.
He's technically correct. We can all work shitty, low-paying, low-skilled jobs.
Causal evidence on this
Well,
because of
hold
the
on.
lottery system.
I
And then you're again completely ignoring the spillover
We should
effect.
offshore all of
I
the
agree.
blue-collar
I agree.
jobs
There's
to
some.
India,
I
and
agree.
we can
I
all
think there
work in the
are. I think
service
there
industry.
are. I think. Oh my god. I think there is some abuse in the system. There's some abuse in any system. I think most of that would be solved by making the system less administratively complex and easier. But if you hate the abuse going on, you should fight. You should hate Trump because he's so incompetent. He's so incompetent that one of the reforms that he's doing to H-1Bs is using wage levels to award visas instead of the lottery system. But he didn't understand that wage levels or whoever came up with the policy, wage levels were constructed to measure relative seniority within a position and not the actual wage of someone working a job. So now more visas are going to go to people abusing the system to get like a H-1B visa acupuncturist than H-1B tech workers that just graduated college in the U.S. that we want here.
I went to hold on to Nonfon's point though. I think another thing that maybe from the Republican side we should factor in, right? Just for funsies here, is Trump has talked a lot about bringing manufacturing back to America, and like no offense to the tech bros, I guess I'll be the guy to say I hate the tech bros. Fuck you, bitches. Y'all. There's service industry. You're not building nothing. The tech bros, guess what? If we have EMP, yeah, I'm sorry. If EMPs go off tomorrow, I'm gonna go out to my ranch. I'm gonna eat my cow. You're gonna go to your job and you're gonna eat the chips. Yeah, I guess get fucked.
Your cows are all fucking dead.
I'll be eating some radioactive meat. I'll be all right. I'll be all right for a while. I'll last longer than you will. But my point is that y'all are gonna have nothing. This is kind of a point Trump made was we're gonna bring manufacturing back, right? And so if you agree with that, then you know that some of these service industry jobs, and this is kind of what Ronfon and I've argued a few times, are going to shrink. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing because other industries are going to grow. Now, I know he disagrees, but Streamer, do you disagree with that too? What are your thoughts here?
Well, so from my perspective, what we're seeing is a shift of work. We're seeing now a single engineer cannot just do the work of 10 to 50 other engineers, but they can build workflows that are force multipliers for businesses. So there's a lot of people doing stupid, repetitive jobs that they hate and they don't make a whole bunch of money. So now what we're seeing is a small business owner who's been struggling to try to have operational efficiency. Now at the low level, guys doing $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, a couple million a year, they're able to fight and gain the advantages that larger companies have and be able to create more opportunity in their local economy. So what we're seeing is for the folks that are leading into this, it's displacing entire industries, but what it's leaving in its wake is better paying opportunities. We used to have people to do accounting. They'd just be a room full of 100 accountants or whatever, sitting there with their 10 key, punching everything out. Do we think that losing those jobs was bad for America? Absolutely not. Now we use spreadsheets. Now we use databases. Now we have way better jobs. And so what we're seeing is a transition in the type of equipment that we're using. I'd love to see domestic chip manufacturing in the U.S. I'd like to see more manufacturing here. And what we're seeing, I think, more and more is this merge of technology where traditional industries, such as even yours, are able to see really nice improvements by applying technology and by having domestic talent that understands American problems. We see greater growth and improvement in productivity in small businesses, which are the backbone of all of our economic opportunity. See, small businesses drive almost all of the job growth in any meaningful way. So we have a handful of employers that end up causing a lot of great jobs, and that's fine. But then the little guy has to go through and slug it out and bar fight with the world, have a ranch, have an accounting practice, have a manufacturing, put people to work, and actually take care of them. So anything that gets in the way of progress is
let me kind of piggyback off of that Stream Riff.
And then we're going to go to Tyler. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, and I know Tyler wanted me to ask this while he was gone. I apologize. But basically, we are at basically full employment in the U.S. I mean, you will never have 100% with zero unemployment, but we're as close as we get, right? And so the consolidation of some jobs opens up room for other jobs to be created, and so this is a natural thing. And if we disagree on that, I mean that's fine. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but that's how that works. Now, what Stream Rift is kind of saying is that while we may not bring back traditional manufacturing jobs of running a heavy press or being a machinist, a production machinist or something like that, it very well could be that the manufacturing jobs that do come back are things like the chip manufacturing facility that we're trying to bring back from Taiwan, move it out of Taiwan back to Silicon Valley. so that we can have more control over the chip manufacturing process as we once did. And I'm sure there's other high tech jobs. I mean, right now, you guys, would you guys at least admit that right now we're selling a lot of shit to the world. We're selling F-35s as faster than we can build them. We'll sell them to fucking anybody. And those are, we're selling Patriot missile systems, Apache helicopters, light helicopters, which they go by various names, Kiowas, things like that, troop carriers. And most of this is out of date inventory that we need to clear space. But you know what? Those still have to get loaded on the trucks. Truck drivers still get paid to move them. It creates American jobs, not only after they've been built, but while they're being built. And of course, we have to replace that inventory, also leading to more manufacturing. Can we agree on that? So that even though it seems like Trump may not be causing a factory to reopen or something like that, but by putting these things out there, putting these deals together, and selling, making these huge deals with other countries, that he is in fact bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. effectively?
I don't see evidence for that, and we were selling a ton of military equipment
Literally, he was
beforehand.
criticized for a $6 billion deal to some country.
Well, he also made a deal with India about the oil.
Yeah, I know he's selling F-35s to India. He's selling them. He's selling submarines to Australia. He's selling Patriot missile systems to Israel. He's selling various military vehicles to Israel. He's selling.
Yeah,
great.
great. I think
Well, I don't know. So a lot of it, like in general, a lot of the trade deals, I think, are kind of not like real commitments, and they're Trump heavily exaggerates them. If I'm being charitable, there, we might be selling more military equipment now, and that could plausibly have some positive impact on manufacturing. Now, it could also be crowding out other manufacturing jobs, right? Like if you just imagine, you said it yourself, good, we're near full employment, right? If you imagine we were literally at 100% employment, then if the government were to make an F-35 and employ people to do so, it would necessarily be drawing people away from the private sector. So something like that could be happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I think it's interesting, by the way, that you guys seem to understand creative destruction in this context, but don't understand creative destruction when it comes to trade. But regardless,
you say that
I also, by the way, I just want to be clear, manufacturing job growth is down. It's continued on its downward trend. It's same thing with blue collar jobs in general.
Tyler, go ahead.
Okay, so first off,
your volume's low, Tyler.
Oh, fucking AY. I just fucking fixed it.
You're fine. Go ahead.
You're just too far away, yeah.
All right, so a lot has been said since the last time I spoke, so I got to get to a few things. The issues we're seeing right now with jobs, as Grid pointed out, we are still currently in the area of full employment. We've seen like a 0.8% decrease with increase in labor force participation. The reason why is because we're seeing massive cuts in jobs, in federal jobs. That's the largest amount of jobs lost since Trump took office. And second most is because we're deporting illegal immigrants, forcing businesses to actually pay their workers living wages and real wages. They're not allowed to break the law and pay people second-class citizens pennies on the dollar anymore. And that's causing them to actually increase the cost of their output. So, following the laws might suck, but it is what it is. 95% of H-1B visas come into the country, work for a limited amount of time, and leave. They don't stay, even though we offer them incentives to stay. We are getting cheaper and cheaper in terms of what we're paying people. We see that jobs in blue-collar jobs in tech sector pay almost double what service industry jobs pay. Blue-collar jobs in manufacturing pay about 60% more than what people pay. And we've lost 3 million factory jobs, 2 million tech jobs because we're offshoring overseas. We are
totally
decreasing.
False. You have no evidence for that.
Your study says 2.4, buddy. I've
seen
more.
Nope. First of all, do you think I know more about the fucking study than you do? First of all, I know what study you're citing. You're citing Arthur Dorn Hansen, okay? Because I told you about the study. Arthur Dorn Hansen, first of all. Arthur Dorn Hansen, first of all.
Hold on. I will want
to. Second of all, Arthur Dorn Hansen is not. Stop spurging.
All right. I'm sorry, folks. We got to get some order here. Everybody, shh. All right. Tyler, you can go first. Then Nodvon, you can reject his claims. All right, you go ahead. Now. Now you go.
Thank you. I'm going to continue. Even the lowest studies that non-fund sites say 2.4 million jobs in the manufacturing sector. There's also other studies that show 2 million tech jobs have been offshored as well because of this. We're offshoring call centers. We're offshoring tech support to other countries. Most companies do it. So they come here, they use our tax dollars, they use our services, they take American spots in school, and what they do is they take that money and time and investment into them, and they go back to India. We're paying, and we're allowing Americans to lose opportunities to make India great again. The blue-collar jobs that are coming in right now, we need to train people in tech, IT, and programming, because we're seeing a massive spike right now in terms of tech jobs, especially data centers are begging for people, paying $35 an hour because they can't. And what Street was saying earlier, I am a programmer. I see this. They're offering $50,000 to go work at a coding temp service where they take 10% of your wage and force you to live in a single bedroom apartment in an extremely expensive city for 5 fucking years. They do that to you in order to work for them. And when you say no, then they hire a fucking person here, an H-1B visa that makes 40 to 50% less the median wage. There's second-class citizens being brought in. We're saying no more. And if it costs so fucking much to pay U.S. workers to do the jobs that we want U.S. workers to do, let's talk about cutting climate policy, talk about cutting worker protections, talk about cutting all the other things that drive our wages up, except for just give up, roll over, and everyone goes works as a fucking line cook at McDonald's.
I like McDonald's.
Not fun. Go ahead, not
Okay,
fun.
I don't know why Tyler thinks he knows more about the study I told him about than he does. So you're citing, I believe what you're citing is Arthur Dorn Hansen. Just to be clear, number one, the estimate from that is not 2.2 million. The estimate that they, I think, say in the abstract or say in the headline number is, I believe, 1.5 million. Second of all, that's using the least robust specification in their own study. It's using the data from the like columns with the least amount of controls, the least to artificially get the highest effect. I think it's clear that they were trying to do that. Second of all, there is no general equilibrium model they provide. Just to be clear, you cannot get an aggregate effect. I know econometrics is hard. You cannot get an aggregate effect without a general equilibrium model. Arthur Dorn Hansen does not provide a general equilibrium model. All they do is times the partial R2, which is they use their DID model to get a partial I2, and they just times that by the change in import penetration for the whole country. That is not robust. That is not how that is meaningless. That's meaningless. So that and it has a dirty instrument as well. Their instrumental variable, by the way, violates the exclusion restriction because the instrument for Chinese imports is heavily correlated with imports from low to middle income countries. So it's not it has a dirty instrument. They use the least robust specification to get that number, and the methodology for getting that number is just total bullshit anyway. They don't have a general equilibrium model. If you look at studies that do try to make a general equilibrium model, a lot of them find that it actually led to net job increases. Certainly not just with the U.S., but historically.
More restaurant jobs. I'm looking at 17.2 million jobs since 1996 in the manufacturing center have gone away. They're only attributing, this study attributes 4.5 million of those to the jobs in the job.
I know what you're citing again. You're citing Robert E. Scott. Robert E. Scott is fucking bullshit too. That's not even
every study that proves you wrong is bad and stupid.
I know everything you bring and more. Okay, first of all, Robert E. Scott, I know what the fuck you're citing. Number one, that's not a study. That's not published. That's just some bullshit for the EPI. I bet you're reading it off the EPI website right fucking now. Second of all he does is assume that a trade deficit displaces U.S. production 1-to-1, which is blatantly not true. You can see that is.
CSIS says 3.5 million. Well, there's a different one. Reshoring innovation says 3 to 5 million. EPI.
Yeah, reshoring innovation. I'm sure they say that.
Everyone that proves you wrong is stupid and bad, and you can't trust anyone. We have to listen to you.
I got you, Castle. We're gonna give you a second here, right quick. Really? Actually, I want to move. We're in the weeds again. We're arguing about studies specifically. And which study have you read? And read?
Tyler, just to be clear, Tyler, do you concede that Robert E. Scott's work is bullshit?
No.
You know who's bullshit? His work is not bullshit. Francis Scott Key.
Just Tyler, do you concede that I know more than you about Arthur Dorn Hansen?
I don't think you know more than me about much, buddy. But
about Arthur Dorn Hansen, the study that you're
all saying 3 to 5 million, and you're like, all of them are stupid and bullshit.
I don't even think you're citing the one study that you're citing is Arthur Dorn Hansen. The other stuff is not studies. It's like think pieces.
There's no
All
study
right,
that backs
enough about Rogel Dorn and fucking the Imperial Fist or whatever we're talking about. But let's talk about another little key factor of the economy here. I've heard from many people here about the trade deficit for probably about 2 years now. And I'm just going to read something here, and then we'll go to Castle. We'll get our first response since he was waiting. The U.S. trade deficit has plunged to its lowest level since 2009 in October 2025, with Yahoo Finance reporting a 39% decline from September to 29.4 billion, effectively halving the previous deficit. This dramatic reduction, which fell from over 136 billion in March 2025, was driven by a 3.2% decrease in imports, particularly pharmaceuticals and gold, and 2.6% increase in exports. So it looks like we've cut the trade deficit in half. That is something I've heard argued about many times. What are our thoughts at this, Castle? Go ahead and start us off, and you can respond to what the other litany of things that were said before that as well.
Yeah, I mean, before I get to this real quick, and I promise, Gibbs, I'll get back to it, but I think the guy below Stream Ripped, I think his name is, he was posting some meme in the corner about like, oh, researchers say this, blah, blah, blah. And I totally agree with that in this case, because that's what this whole debate should really be about. It's not about this study or that study, and I agree that those matter and with context, but like the American people don't think that the economy is doing well. Why? That should be the main point. It's not about what this study says or whatever this economist says, because Americans aren't waking up to read a research paper. So just to get that out of the way, I think that matters a lot more to what Americans are thinking more than whatever economists are saying or whatever the government is saying. But to your point about the trade deficit, Gibbs, is that Americans are buying less stuff, and there's higher interest rates that have strengthened the dollar. Then demand has softened. Then demand softened. So I think there are a few things that play with the deficit. I think that Trump's obsession with it isn't really helping anybody in this case. I feel like he's used that to levy tariffs on other nations and other countries, and then obviously has then come back and played that off as some type of negotiation tactic where, in some instances you could say it's worked, and then in others, I don't know if we even really have any concrete trade deals written on the table. So I don't really think the trade deficit is something that also, again, is a metric that Americans are waking up to and seeing like, oh, going out to Walmart costs $5 more than it did last month, but we're now closer in the trade deficit. I think it's something that doesn't matter.
You agree nearly 100% employment is a reasonable sign then, if we're not going to talk trade deficits and whatnot?
Yeah, but I think that you got to look at the trajectory. Is the unemployment rate going up or down?
It's going up. It's been going up. I think it decreased like the last 2 months or something, but other than that, it's been going up. It's been trending.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's good to have full employment. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we're seeing a trajectory, and based on the last jobs report, that we're starting to lose more jobs than gain them. So I think that's a bad thing.
584,000 new jobs.
Well, if you have
first of all,
if you have 100% employment, the only direction you can go is what? Down, right?
Well, that's not labor force participation.
And it is a slowdown. We created less.
2020, I don't think.
But it was 584. 500 something thousand. I think it's 84. I could go look it up again.
I don't believe net job growth of 584,000 in 2025.
I think that would have been a record if it was like a 1 month thing, right?
I said
while y'all are looking into this, let's go to Steve Rift. He's been quiet for a moment. Steve Rift, what are your thoughts so far?
I mean, I think it's really interesting when we sit and we discuss studies. Like we've touched on this. So non-fun, I got to ask you. So we're sitting in this time where there's never been this much advancement in technology ever. And a lot of folks have been looking for technology to make their jobs better, start making more money. And we're right on the edge of all of this excitement here. And you're sitting here discounting the stability of the market that Trump's bringing with actually giving some guidelines for companies. You're pushing back on the idea that we need to let American talent develop. You're pushing back on the idea that, for example, like just going back to sort of the beginning, like cheap gas, like Americans like cheap gas because they like going places, like they like visiting their family, like going on trips, like they like fucking just going on their boat. Like if we're just talking about general country morale, $2 gas would be fucking ready to throw down for another revolution. So like there's some quality of life things that happen that people are like, oh, you also, and my goodness, this is probably the most offensive thing you've nodded to, and please correct me if I'm wrong on your position, but I think you made some notion, that idea that not letting hedge funds buy single family homes was some bad thing. Your generation is sitting here crying about you can't afford a house. This is the single policy decision that could be made that would have the highest impact on that, and you're just looking down on that. So, like,
Absolutely
do you
false.
think we
What's the
shouldn't
evidence
have
for
affordable
that?
housing? Do you
Mass
think we,
deportations too.
Bro.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What's the evidence for that?
Well,
evidence
there's
for
some.
what?
There is some reports coming out of California that housing costs are going down now that they have such a dramatic decrease in pop due to that. But I don't know. I find that
Not the
I'll
mass
be hold on,
deportations,
hold on,
the institutional bias.
just to caveat that, I find it somewhat suspicious that that's going to cause housing costs to go down in California whenever it's already so high and these people are working as a subclass. How are they causing prices to go? I got questions. I would
I'll
need more
walk you through
evidence.
that. It's all right. So we've got
Sure.
expensive housing, mid housing, cheap housing. When you start,
There's no
dropping
cheap
that-
housing, so yeah, it goes up. I
so if you drop that
understand,
one, yeah, it
but
collapses
I
the
just
whole market.
I got some doubts, but like maybe I'm wrong. You know,
It's pulled off like 10%. Like my wife and I, we like looking at the beaches of California. It'd be nice to have a place to go hang out there, and we're looking at it. Prices
yeah,
went down.
the
quite a
red
bit.
wave, the red wave. Needs to
Like
come to
it really
Cali.
got. Oh, we'll just visit. We lived there for 3 years and never again. Great
I think
beaches.
the
just
migration,
not a
you
place
might have
to
a
be.
point on migration, Tyler gives,
Oh
but
my
I think for
God.
the institutional buyers, I don't think that's a real thing. Like they own like 1% of the
kidding me?
entire housing
Not
stock.
Nevada. Nevada,
What was
they
that?
own like a
Okay,
third of the
wait,
houses in Vegas. It's a massive
it's
impact.
like-
And what they do is every time they buy a house, they can increase the amount of rent. So they buy another 5% of the market. The rents of everything in the whole market goes up. So they get extra rents on everything else that they bought up. So this is how they've just been beating the shit, like Grid was talking about. The middle class. There is no middle class. There's a permanent renter class that can never get ahead.
Why can they just bid the price of housing up? What
What
do
are
you
you
mean?
talking
Like
about?
what?
Well, start with
They
the-
still have to compete. They have to compete. They have to
defer to
compete
Grid.
against all the existing housing stock, and you would imagine, absent
I'm sorry you
barriers
don't
to building
understand
more
the point, Grid.
housing,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
they did,
I can
if they
answer
did,
that.
if they did increase housing prices a ton, other
So do you want an
investors would
answer?
enter
No,
to build new
do you want
homes
an
to drive
answer?
the price
Like you
back
asked
down.
Go ahead. Let him finish, and then go ahead, Greg.
Yes, I mean, I can answer why a big chunk of why the real estate market is the way it is, and we can look at a couple of different markets. Most markets, what happens is you have American Homes for Rent, Liberty, Progress, and I forget what the fourth one is, but they're all basically, they all receive funding from the same corporate entities. They own over 1,000 houses now. They have to divest themselves of it. That means they're going to have to sell them. There's some concern. My wife and I were talking about the other night that these companies are going to just simply form a new company and basically sell to themselves on paper, which would be interesting to see happen. But what happens is they move into a neighborhood, and the average price in that, let's just pretend that the average price for the home in that neighborhood is $250,000, and they buy that house, and then they decide that they put some money into it and they get it appraised, and it's worth $400,000. So now all
That's an improvement.
Yeah,
Yes, if you make something more desirable, its price goes up.
For yourself for just a little bit. I mean, I know.
No, I'm gonna go insane.
So literally, what they'll do is they'll in that neighborhood, they will buy every house in the neighborhood, and they'll go to the realtors and say, "Hey, if you bring me the deal first, and I'll buy it cash." And then they buy cash, they close quick, and a lot of times, sellers that need to get out, and they get what they want out of it. I personally, we have I have an investment fund deals with real estate, and what we do is we buy houses. We don't buy whole neighborhoods like Progress or anything, but we buy houses, and we do the same thing. We go to I have realtors that are willing to make very low commission and willing to kind of negotiate harshly with sellers to get us a good price. And we bought 20 houses this year. And that's, it's a drop in the bucket compared to some of these companies.
You are BlackRock.
True.
Mini BlackRock.
I am not.
Okay, first of all,
what those houses are worth. I control what those houses are worth. When I decide to sell it. What do you mean how?
He doesn't understand.
You're in competition against all the other existing housing stock.
So if
Yeah, but he's got
own
he's
a
got a lock on.
neighborhood-
Yeah, he's got a lock on he's basically saying he can do the Rockefeller system because he can undercut the people that are still there, or he can own the other people because he controls the market in the region. So if you want to buy a house in this
control
neighborhood,
the market.
What's the evidence for that? Wait, cite
Right,
me,
yeah.
cite me one metropolitan area.
Influence.
Cite me one metropolitan. So we have a measure of, actually we have multiple measures of market concentration. One is the HHI index. Cite me one
working in
metropolitan
Columbia,
area
Ohio.
with
I
a
mean, I'll tell you
HHI
right
index.
now, Columbus, Ohio. I own 20
That's
houses.
not true. I know, because I know the HHI index is not above any market concentration threshold level in any metropolitan area.
If you can't I bought a house 8 months ago for $215,000. I put basically zero money in, right? And I have had someone in there paying rent the whole time. If I were to sell it today, I would sell it for $315,000 to $320,000. And that is slightly above the going rate, but I know I can get it because I don't have to sell it, and I just know that nobody else is going to be able to compete with me on that. And the people who are going to compete with me are the same people like me who are going to do the same thing. What was it? Open Door. Open Door had the same policy. They would go in and they buy a house, just give you whatever you ask for it. So if you said that it was worth $300,000, they give you $300,000 for it, and then they would immediately mark it up by $100,000 or more, and that was their. But and it was a very bad tactic. They lost their ass, but that's because they didn't understand the same things that American Homes for Rent and all of these other companies understand. And once they own all of a neighborhood, they set the value.
I find
but Grant,
I think everywhere else. That's number one. Number two, if they make improvements to the house, obviously the price of a newly improved asset is going to go up. Number three, if they are driving up the value of these homes or whatever, you would expect that's one of the first things you said. You said these companies buy a home and they improve it, they redecorate it or whatever, and I crashed out a little. Okay, remember? Also, there's no metropolitan area. There's no you can't find evidence of market concentration beyond what the FCC considers a reasonable threshold for being worried anywhere. That's just not we have indexes of this stuff. It's just simply not the case.
Hold on.
Also, oh my God. Also, if they do drive up can I finish with this thing?
Let it finish. Then you can respond.
If they drive up the price of them and they're making more profit, you would expect other people to enter the market. I think a big reason why you don't see that in some cases is because we made it needlessly hard with regulatory barriers on the local level with housing supply and with restrictions on lending that we instituted after 2008 for new people to enter the market and to buy homes. Also, we see that there's evidence that large landlords essentially can have lower marginal costs and are actually more efficient at building and managing homes, and for that reason, they might actually have some positive effect on reducing housing prices, especially if you do.
Yes, we hate making.
Go ahead, Grid.
Yeah, because we hate making money. So no.
Grid, you're a business owner. No, you recognize that you can make more money by cutting prices sometimes. If more people buy your good, it depends on the elasticity.
You just don't understand economics. The whole point of putting a bucket of money into housing to control the price is so that you can fuck the market, which is how this works.
No,
it's math.
Right. So
this is like a 2-column spreadsheet.
For both of you guys, you're not understanding that
$1,000, but I own.
Not saying that
30% of it, right? Like I own an entire block of houses, right? I own 10 out of the 12 houses on a block. I now control what those houses are going to pay, what you're going to pay to buy one of those houses.
Grid, you don't own the neighborhood. That's what he's saying. You don't own the neighborhood.
And that's what's happened in almost every market across the United States.
Yeah.
Grid,
why they just put in regulation so that companies could know more than 1,000 houses.
Yeah, I'm putting this.
I don't even think that's
27 to 34% of houses sold in multiple quarters in the last 6 quarters.
I know you're citing again. You're citing the stupid Redfin shit. No, that's like as stupid as Game of Telephone.
Yeah, everything's
that's
stupid that shows it wrong.
I believe what
You're
he's
an
citing
idiot.
is this.
I literally just got an email the other day saying that if I because we own 20 houses, but we have multiple funds. If we own 1,000 houses, we're going to have to divest ourselves of that.
This is the 2025 Q3 Investor Pulse report by Batch Data. Showed 27 to 34% of new homes sold in 2025 went to investors and not family. So you're talking about the aggregate over the last 20 years.
What that
We're talking
number
about what's
actually
happening
is
right now.
True. I believe what that actually is. First of all, even in that, again, 99% of the housing stock in any given year is existing housing stock. But regardless, I believe what you're citing. Sorry, I don't have notes on every single stupid meme. I can't memorize all of it. Okay, I can memorize. I know exactly what you're reading when you look up the numbers for manufacturing stuff because I've read all that bullshit. Sorry, I can't memorize every single thing, but I believe what you're citing is there was a thing that said I think it was Redfin initially came out and said the whatever number, like 27% of all flipped homes were sold to large or small investors, and that got telephoned all the way to what you said.
This came from CNBC, my citation.
Yeah, Tyler. So, and I think that this might help. So let me, a layman, try to dissect this. But Grid was saying, and we'll get back to Grid's example, but Grid, you were saying you own, like, let's say 20 or 30% of homes in a certain area, right?
I don't need to own 20 or 30%. If I own a neighborhood, whatever the houses in that neighborhood should sell for, and because everybody else is going to also raise their price up to my price. Right.
Sure, but then also, but
why? Wait, what?
Not fine. Hold on. My point is that if you own a certain amount of housing, or let's say you own a neighborhood, you raise the prices, and people buy. They have to buy at that price for other people to raise the price of their house if they want to sell it. Right? Like if you're not selling a house for $500,000, then you're going to have to sell it for $450,000 or $400,000 until you feel like you have a buyer or a market there. So my point is that you can own as much as you want in a certain neighborhood, but what Non-Font is saying is that nobody, not even institutional investors, owns enough where they can control an entire town or entire city or whatever it is, because they are not dictating the price of the market. Right. The market is still owned by the existing
owner. Hold on, y'all are making this way more complicated than need be. I agree. I'll play the devil's advocate because I could use my neighborhood as an easy example. I think the conundrum y'all have here. I mean, I own my house here in my neighborhood. And it's a new neighborhood that didn't exist 4 years ago, right? This is the third year. My property value has gone up about $40,000 in the last year, this neighborhood specifically, right? Now, I own my house. I think 2 other people own houses, and another company owns 1 house. Now, the other 14 houses in the small neighborhood are owned by a company called First Key, or they're the property management company, and a trust owns all these houses. Now, my money, what I pay on this shit, that doesn't change. However, my taxes have gone up quite a bit, right? And if I wanted to sell, it's going to match the market value of all the houses that they're managing and they own, right? My market value has changed because of this. So whenever they sell or rent, they're matching that price to other comparable neighborhoods in the area, which they have other trusts that are related to them that own major portions of these neighborhoods around them. So when they set a price for, say, rent, let's say it's $1,300, and all the houses in that neighborhood people are paying $1,300, that is reflected across the board in the whole region of, like, say, San Antonio, where I live, because other houses that are the comparable price in the comparable area are going to be set that because a portion of them, let's say like 5 to 10%, are all suddenly at this price. Why would you pay more or less when it's all this? So it's kind of, you dictate the market if you have enough market pools. Kind of what it sounds like y'all are arguing. Is that, yeah?
What happens is someone like, and look, I'm not really, I don't care to be big enough to meaningfully sway a market, but I've watched it happen with specifically Progress, Liberty, and American Homes for Rent. Progress especially. Progress is evil, but the reality is they go in, and once they get into a neighborhood, just every home that comes up for sale, they'll buy it. They'll get preferential treatment because the realtors like them. They know they pay cash, and there's always deals to be made. And
wait, hold on. I just want to be clear. You recognize that it's literally them having lower marginal costs, right?
you don't understand how this works.
Because like I don't know why if my brain just works
Everybody
in
do the
a
Destiny.
way that yours doesn't. What I hear
do the-
when
do the Destiny.
when I
That's funny.
when you say that, true, it's just driving me crazy. To be clear,
Yeah,
what
go
you
ahead,
just
go ahead.
told me,
Get it
like
out.
they have lower marginal cost. You reckon that makes the supply curve shift right? Like that makes the supply curve or like more elastic, I should say, flatter.
You're never
No,
gonna
Which
own a
lowers
house.
prices.
because people like money.
No,
Because people like money. And if I buy a house for
that's
$250, just stop for a minute and
I know
calm down.
it's profit maximizing for them. Oh my god.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I buy a bunch of houses, I decide what they're worth, more or less. Okay. And when I sell my house for $400,000, even though by all rights it ought to be $250,000.
I don't know what you're talking about, right? I just want to be so you said that they get preferential treatment. Another thing they get, by the way, is that they get like better deals on insurance, for example.
Sure.
Because they own a lot of homes and they benefit from.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Wait, just to be clear, do you think that like shifts marginal cost to the right or like makes marginal cost lower?
You don't understand how they're pricing. That at its core, you just don't understand how housing
you
pricing works.
produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. If you reduce marginal cost, you produce
No, you're
more.
literally you're just disagreeing with literally very well established demonstrable economics. If I buy a house on the street,
are you telling me
let's
people
say there's-
wait, just
can I
be
actually
clear.
finish?
Wait, just stream ref,
No, okay, go
please,
ahead.
please tell it. Do
No,
you
you don't
agree
listen.
that
Fine, go ahead.
it is profit maximizing for firms to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue?
I don't think you understand real estate. I don't know why you're obfuscating from this.
Wait, can you just
I
that's
have
just a
10
general
houses.
thing?
No,
Can
you
can agree
interrupted
with
me
that? Do you
whenever
agree
you're
with that?
ready, or else we can go to someone else. It's fine. I don't need to speak.
I just really want to know if you agree that firms produce where marginal cost equals
Stop doing
marginal revenue.
Destiny bullshit. Right. So here's the thing. If I've got 100 houses on
Okay.
a street and it's $3,000 a month for rent, then I buy up the whole street and it goes up 3,100. It goes up 3,400. I can control all of the
I do that.
market. And so when it goes up to 3,700, I buy one more. I own even more near there. I can keep ratcheting this up.
Wait, so
And
to
as soon as
counter
somebody
that-
else sells it, this is a supply and demand curve, and it's the most simple economic thing that
Right,
exists
right.
under the sun. So you're arguing against gravity right now.
Streamrift is exactly right. It's
True.
supply and demand. But the thing is, you can't just raise and give. Grid can't do this either. You can't just say, I'm buying a whole neighborhood. I'm going to make every house $1 million. What happens is nobody buys the houses, so they move to a different neighborhood. So
Yeah, or
So
They just hold it.
or just a piggyback. Yeah, or just piggyback off
Right.
Castle. You do what I would do, and I would just undercut the shit out of them because I want to get rid of
Yeah,
the
right.
property.
Or you
And
say
then
how-
all of a sudden,
Well,
yeah, that's going to bring all their prices
actually-
down, and
that is
that'll
the
fuck them. But
smartest
like,
comment made so far. The smartest comment made so far is what
Well, of
I
course.
do. What I, as a little guy who I only own 20 houses, and Progress has 300 in the city that I'm in. I look at their rents and I price mine $100 a month less than theirs, right? And when they go to sell a house for $400,000 and it's the same square footage and it's basically the same as my house, if they're selling for 400, I'll sell for 375. Yes,
Yeah.
I undercut them, right?
Right.
But-
So
but
that's
but
why
they,
I'm
they
saying.
will they will set that value. They just will, and you can. I mean, I don't understand how to explain it. But again, I think Streamrift is right. You're arguing against gravity. I don't understand how this is so hard to understand. If there's a short supply of $250,000 houses and I own even 20% of them, what I get to and I'm going to sell it, I'm going to determine that that's now a $300,000 house, regardless of if I'm going to make $100,000 on it or whatever. I mean, I mean, I'm obviously going to make money, but
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing when we talk about the corporate interest in here, it's kind of the same thing. They're still in the same market. So that's what my argument was, is whether or not they buy a whole neighborhood or not, they're still going to have to price it considerably relative to the neighborhood across the street or the town or whatever, because you can't overprice a house, otherwise nobody's going to buy it. So you can say that they're coming in buying these houses. They still have to be relative to whatever the market is in that area. And they can also lose money. Let's say that the economy goes to shit. They're not going to be able to sell a $400,000 house for $400K. They're going to have to lower the price to $300, whatever, and so on. So I think that's why we're still arguing the market here is still what's controlling it. That's why supply and demand, I think, makes a lot of sense. And what Streamrift was saying was that that's still the overarching theme here, is that even if you are a corporation, which again, they only own 1% of the houses here, they're competing with
They
the
own 20%
99%
of the
out there. Nationally, they do. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're protected from all of this, but for the rest of us, what happens is the inventory gets artificially consolidated, and then what ends up
But
happening
where
is
is
they
it
can
happening?
actually
That's what
set
I'm
the right.
saying.
Okay, so right now in Las Vegas, a house used to be able to be you could get a nice house $250,000. It's like $500,000 now. And it's not that the inventory's changed. In fact, a lot of the inventory is the same. There's a lot of houses that are old. And what's ends up happening is when you allocate, for example, to quote unquote affordable housing and you put restrictions on everything, you ratchet up the gross rents overall. So when 20% of the money that's in investment or in real estate is consolidated on 20% of the portfolio, they have an upward trajectory on it. The other thing is they're buying the single families, and this is what should be terrifying to anybody like non-fawn or the kids these days, is this is the mechanic that's keeping you as permanent renters. This is why Daddy Trump's telling you guys about 50-year mortgages, because you kids can't wrap your head around the fact that when you let BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street buy up all these houses and set rent rates, they're going to
be
price
fair,
it just about
Oh,
over
let me
mortgage.
get some
Yeah.
And you
jalapeno
guys
poppers,
are
Gib.
Nothing to decrease.
Wait, hold on. I just want to. Why StreamRift? Why is the supply curve upward sloping? Why does it slope?
What are you
upwards?
talking about?
Why does the supply curve on the supply and demand graph slope upwards?
So get to your point.
It's because marginal costs are increasing. Typically,
You
that's the
assume that
assumption.
real estate. Okay, okay. I'm going to address this point because you can't get past it. In manufacturing, yes, we're going to go for economies of scales. In software, we're going to go for economies of scales. In real estate, it's location, location, location. It's backed by real estate. It
Do
doesn't.
you recognize that
behave the same way.
institutional
That's why
investors,
you're
large
fucking
investors,
idiot.
benefit from economies of scale? Do you recognize that's true?
What are you? You're just wandering off, man.
I'm not. You
Directly
oh my
engage with the
God.
fact that real estate does not play by the same rules of operational efficiency. For example, if Grid and I decided to go make widgets, and we were competing against other widget manufacturers, we would all have an incentive to make cheaper widgets, and
Higher
we'd be
quality.
trying to get deals with negotiators.
Hold on,
We'd fight on
just to
premium.
be
Let me
like I'm
finish.
sending
Let me
stuff
finish. Let me
in.
finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, let
So
me
here's
finish.
the
Go ahead.
thing. So we go ahead and we do this. We're forced to do that because that's how the market. So we can either make a better widget or a cheaper widget. Both are nice. And so in real estate, because the value is tied to so many other things, like for example, the location of a house next to a good school is of significant value to the family. And so that puts a premium on it. So everybody, for example, if we did school choice and we made it where there could be schools throughout communities, it wouldn't consolidate the cost of housing. And so you're sitting here ignoring all of these extra things that make real estate actually unique and behave differently than, for example, manufacturing or even the service industry, and then going, yeah. So that's what's going on there. That's the difference. Real estate
Yeah,
doesn't
but
behave the same way as
so
manufacturing.
the question I have for you, Steam, was that you said that there's existing housing that isn't being built upon in Las Vegas, right? I think you said
Well,
that.
no. So very specifically, there's the federal government owns a lot of the land here, and so there's an artificial restriction on land development, which is driving up the value of all of the existing land.
That's true.
Okay,
Especially
so
with all
let's
of the folks in California coming over here.
In the constraints of that, you have a government that isn't allowing for more development, and you're having more people trying to move into Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas and that area, especially the Southwest, especially during COVID, a ton of people were trying to move there. And so I think it just goes back to your point of supply and demand. Like, I don't know why you're blaming the corporations.
Houston's the fastest growing city, and they're not seeing massive spikes in housing costs like the rest of the country.
Because they have more supply than demand. That's the point.
They're building.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying for streamers. It's like Las Vegas needs to build more. They obviously have some governmental regulations, but that's really what it comes down to. It's not because the government.
Just to be clear, the federal government owns like 80% of land in Nevada, and our governor is a pussy who won't just say, fuck you, stay the fuck out of here. If Minnesota can drive ice out, we can build some fucking houses for people.
They did it.
Yeah, that's fine.
The federal government has a ton of restrictions on lending after the subprime mortgage crisis. We put a ton of restrictions on lending, and that restricts families' ability to buy a home. And that's part of the reason why institutional investors buy more homes nowadays, because they have the capital.
But I want to address something that StreamRiff said. And first of all, BlackRock, Vanguard don't actually own any houses, but they bankroll companies like Progress that do. And they what ought to really scare a lot of people like non-fawn and people who want to own a house in the future. I'm picking on you because of your age, non-fawn, not your intellect or anything. What really should scare young people is the fact that all of these, there's like 5 companies that own a shit ton of real estate, and if they were to decide that and they're not, they don't, this is an asset to them. They don't care. They're not emotionally attached to it. They don't live there. It's simply numbers on a screen. And if it were to reverse, if it were to be the case, and as it is in some places where the market actually reversed and the values of those homes started to drop below a threshold, they would divest themselves of it, causing a massive glut in the market and a cratering of real estate almost overnight. And that's had, I mean, and there's and it would be hugely detrimental to the country. So I think it's an interesting the way that they're attempting to control the real estate through this executive orders and things like that. I think that's really interesting. I don't know if it's going to be effective, but it's interesting. And I want to say one more thing about this. So when we talk about companies like my like my investment fund or BlackRock, or well, not BlackRock, I just said but Progress or any of these other companies, one of the reasons they were able to charge so much money, especially from COVID forward, is because so many people fled California, New York, some of these other states, and they moved into areas like mine where typically you would not see a house that was maybe more than 300 grand unless it was like super nice. And overnight you had people coming in who honestly didn't give a fuck what the house cost. They just wanted a house, and there was a false sense of scarcity and my house, the house I live, I paid $415,000 for the house that I live in. It's worth 800 grand today on paper because of the people from California and New York moving here and driving that cost up. No other reason. There's no other reason for my house to be worth this much. It's literally still a $400,000 house. It's nice,
Yeah.
but not that nice.
Some places like in
That's almost
Ohio,
like the land appreciates. That's crazy.
Some places like places in Ohio see 20% of homes being owned by investors and not single families. So what we're seeing again is in recent purchases, we're seeing about a third of houses sold being bought by investors. Like we're looking at the total of all houses in aggregate that have been bought in the last 50 years and saying, well, it's only 3.8% that are owned by big companies, but at the end of the day, that's a fuck ton of the money.
First of all, you're still competing against all the other existing housing stock.
Most people are selling their houses.
Again, we have measures of market concentration. I don't think there's a single metropolitan area where the HHI index gives real estate or residential like construction above I forget what the threshold is. I think it's like 800 for like moderately concentrated even. Not
That's
that I don't even
true.
think concentration. I don't even think concentration alone is a good measure of market competition. Because a lot of increase like an increase in competition, or sorry, an increase in concentration can represent more productive firms getting more market share because they're more productive. That's what you want to happen in a free market system. And I don't know how you guys don't understand this. To be clear, firms produce where marginal cost equal. No.
You're saying
I cited a paper. You can look at the group chat. I cited a paper. It is true that like institutional investors, large investors, tend to have like lower marginal costs. They tend to have lower like operating costs. They get better. Like we're talking about the better deals they get with realtors. They get better deals on insurance. That's a big one. And and that's the reason why they can have lower marginal costs. That's why some of them are even doing like build to rent things now. And that makes the supply curve more elastic.
I want to bring up another problem that we haven't talked about in relation to this.
Wait, hold on. Just one thing. By the way, if you just on the aging, if you disaggregate by marriage, then Gen Z is not particularly far behind in homeownership. There's like slightly above if you adjust for marriage. Now, now part of the issue is home prices probably have an effect on marriage. But it's difficult to say how high that effect is. But if you disaggregate by merits, then Gen Z is doing fine with home ownership. It's just I
do want to point out an unexpected casualty of this policy with the, we're trying to have major corporations not buy up all the single homes, because this has affected me a little bit. Is I own some homes in like areas like Dallas, Fort Worth area, and they're not really homes. What they are is they're shells, right? We build an oil well on there, and then you build a shell around it. And now they're calling these homes. The government is, and so they're trying to restrict. Yes, so they're trying to restrict these in these neighborhoods. So the oil companies are now going, "Oh, we're going to have to come up with some bullshit and open up different things to get around this law." Because if you want to put 6 wells in a neighborhood, that's 6 houses, and if it's all owned by the same company.
Oil wells.
Right, yeah. So you have to build like some of these are nice neighborhoods in the middle, like downtown, like Dallas Fort Worth. Like some of these are good place, like like the ritzy spots. So this might be a $1.2 million home in like that right next to SMU, and like oh shit, it's got an oil well in there. And it's like it's really there's nothing on the inside, and so like this is a real problem for some of these companies because they're going oh shit, now we're getting this classified as home in a residential area, but it's also not. And like I think that's something. This is kind of the same thing when they start dicking around with ag. There's always when they dick around with something and the government dicks around the economy. There's always unintended side effects they're not thinking about. I think that's something to consider. But I'm sure that's a very small problem compared to everybody not being able to. Be able to buy a house, but I thought it was worth mentioning as a side thing here. We'll go to Castle here. You look like you were ready to say something here for a moment. You were ready to
Yeah,
go.
I think one of the things Tyler mentioned, I'm not sure if I'm quoting this right, but you're saying that there were more people selling their homes and buying them. I don't know if that was you or Grid or somebody, but that is true. I think that the recent data is showing that there are more sellers than buyers, and in CPI, we're starting to see that shelter is one of the things that is slowly coming down. So that's hopeful news for people looking to buy a home. But the biggest thing is going to be interest rates, and I think that when it comes back down to what the interest rates and what the Fed is doing, that's going to be of big importance. And I think something relative to this conversation is who Trump is looking to nominate for the Fed, if he's going to lower interest rates or not, whether that has an effect on people being able to afford a house. But right now, it seems
hold on,
like
you're triggering me.
basically
Just to be clear, the Fed controls short-term rates. You recognize that, right? We all
Okay, but
recognize that. So I don't mean to pick on
Man
you.
just said you're triggering me. Hey, so Castle,
You are triggering me. Wait.
Hold on, you didn't answer his question. Nobody
do we recognize
recognize
that the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates and that long-term interest rates are affected by many other things?
Yes, I know that, but I'm just saying in the
Okay,
long
do we
term anyway
recognize?
that we have to be
Oh, he was
we have to
confused.
be
He's
aware of
just
what
trying to
the
make sure he
interest rate.
understood.
yeah.
And I don't want to just pick on you. Grid, Tyler, Stream. Do we all recognize that long-term interest rates are affected by a lot more than just what the Fed does?
I don't even understand how you thread arguments. You seem to go all over the place on some things and avoid very basic concepts.
Yes, lots of different
Why?
things. that affect
Okay,
interest
to be
rates.
clear, what I'm
Lots of
getting at,
different things that affect interest rates.
what I'm getting at here is that the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates. They can do they can do QE, they can
make
do other things
short-term
that have
changes.
effects
Yes,
on a
that's
long-term
true.
interest
They
rate.
can, they can
And
basically
the
it's
long-term interest
force it
rate, the
until
long-term
it's
interest rate, 10-year and 30-year interest rates, right, and bond yields are what is more important for mortgages. And if the Federal Reserve, one of the things that changes the 30-year and 10-year yield is inflation expectations. And if the Federal Reserve cuts short-term interest rates, that raises inflation expectations and won't necessarily have an effect on the real long-term interest rate because the nominal rate will increase by the amount that inflation expectation increases.
I really want
Depends
to
how they cut them, right?
forget
If the
about it. I
economy
really
is
want to
doing
address
poorly,
something
then you
that
have to cut interest rates.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. It was.
I really want to address something you said there. While it's true that currently there seems to, in some areas, it seems like there's a surplus of housing versus buyers. I don't think that bears out over the entire country. And the biggest reason in that I see day to day for that is we have far less speculators and people who are what I consider hobbyist uh, landlords, real estate investors getting into the market, and there a lot of them are being frozen out of the market because it's a real estate is an interesting and long term game. The people who try to play it short term tend to get screwed over. And what we're seeing is that when the interest rates changed, a lot of people who are buying these houses using the BRRR method um, just lost their asses and they're having to sell their houses or they're getting foreclosed on or things such as that. And right now we're seeing houses stay. All right. So I can judge an area generically by what their turnover rate is, right? So if you're seeing houses inventory stay on the market past 90 days, that's unbelievably slow. Houses should not stay on the market 3 months average. And we're seeing a lot more of that because these investors just aren't there right now. And a lot of them are afraid of regulation coming down. Um, and the obviously the banks haven't been willing to loan very well. A lot of banks weren't loaning on investment at all. So that all contributes to the supply of houses. When you take a good chunk of the buyers, which are these investors and speculators, when they can't go buy houses because they can't get funding or they can't get approved for loans or whatever, those houses sit unbought. And unfortunately, not for me, but for other people, that's becoming a problem. So, and of course, that causes the demand to suffer, which means that if you try to sell, you're going to end up taking less than what maybe you really want.
Well, on that note, we got about 15 minutes left, and I do have another panel to get to, and I'm in a particularly aggressive mood tonight, so I'm excited to get to it. So we'll just get into closings here. It's been a lot more contentious than I thought it would be for an econ panel, but very good job, Non-Fawn, fighting the entire panel. Very proud of you. I enjoyed that. Yeah, and Castle, he even fought his teammate. To be fair, you can ask Tyler. This is a good compliment, a good sign, because one of the first times I debated with Tyler's my partner, I called him an idiot about 15 seconds in. So you're good company. So I think that's a good time. But go ahead. We'll get some closings here, and we'll get out of here. And I'm going to start fucking yelling about how much I love my gold diggers. Go ahead, Tyler, and kick us off.
Everything I said was right, obviously. So just kind of going through some of the actual economic arguments that were being made. We heard that almost all of Trump's policies are bad for the economy, and all we got as the example was tariffs, where most of his other policies have been great for the economy, and either the 4.3 to 5.7 projected growth in Q4, good CPE reports, good CPI reports, and all the other points that were made that never got any pushback on, kind of show it is a pretty solid economy. This is coming from people that were saying Biden's economy was great by every metric, including one person on this panel, whereas Trump's economy is better on almost every one of those metrics, and we're just hearing, no, it's not really that good. It's a little bit better, it's not good, Biden, his economy was really good, and people just are so stupid. They don't know anything about economics, and that's why they think it's bad. Trump's is slightly better. It's okay, I guess. It's just two sets of standards as always, and we're kind of pretending like the tariffs are the totality of Trump's economic policy when it's really just a small fraction of it, and most of them affect people globally just worse than they affect us in the United States. That being said, the trade war has not really given the payoff needed yet. We are seeing some pretty great investment, like $1.3 trillion from United Arab Emirates, $600 billion from Saudi Arabia, and these things. The $9 trillion cited more than just the White House. Bloomberg cites $7 to $9 trillion as well months ago, before more investment came in. That is a long-term investment over several years. They've gotten at least $3 to $4 trillion of it in already. We're seeing pretty large investment into the United States. And if you're saying it was going to happen anyways, why didn't it before? Why didn't we get a single year of $1 trillion investment under the previous president, even after he had a really good economy to the point where voters were so stupid they didn't know how good they had it? So again, we keep going off of what the experts say. We keep going off of vague economic rules that are very simplified, that don't take in the nuances of a real economy. And we keep going with the people that, again, keep getting inflation wrong. Got inflation wrong. Powell got it extremely wrong under Biden, said it was transitory. Ended up resulting in a massive spike in interest rates. And those interest rates, the lag to bring them down was because they got inflation wrong every single month that they predicted it under Trump. Every single month they got inflation wrong. They got growth wrong. They got jobs wrong. They got wages wrong. What we're actually seeing right now is wages rising 50% higher than inflation. We're seeing a very good number, something Biden never accomplished a single year. He got barely over it in his 4th year in office, and people acted like he fixed the world. He fixed the economy. And if you ask them how we compare to the rest of the world, they say, well, compared to the other G7 countries that did the same things that we did on COVID, we were slightly better. Ignore the other 190 countries in the world, please, most of which didn't see that inflation that we got because they didn't do the same things. So at the end of the day, our economy isn't doing amazing under Trump. And again, the voters are feeling that Trump made promises to bring prices down, and all he's done is stabilize the bleed from them by seeing wages rise about 50% higher. The unemployment that was being cited, again, most of that is due to the fact that he's firing federal workers en masse, and that he's deporting a lot of illegal workers, causing firms to have to pay more. Which, again, is completely fine. If we talk about how tariffs bring up wages, it's absolutely bad. But if we talk about how all the other policies represented by the people that dislike Trump also make things cost more, then, those are fine because I agree with those policies. Yeah, let's keep doing fucking climate policies. Let's keep spending $20 billion to Stacey Abrams' fucking private super PAC where she hires a bunch of out-of-office Democrat staffers and pays them like 3 times what the average worker makes because climate justice and things of that nature. It's just we see massive amounts of spending under the other party that even at one point Jerome Powell was saying was a bad idea, despite the fact that he got a lot wrong. He got that right, and they fucking ignored him as well. So we are seeing better economic growth right now out of Trump. It's only slight, but it's getting better. And I expect with the majority of people that at the end of Trump's trade war, we're going to see probably a better economy than we're seeing right now. But again, Grid, I have to disagree with you. About 0.5 to 0.7% of our 2.7% inflation this year was the direct result of tariffs. We have not seen that juice being worth the squeeze yet.
Thank you so much. Castle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think Nonfon and I disagree that much, maybe on the margins, but I appreciate all his research, but I think it gets back to the point that when you talk about economics, it's got to be way more top-down viewing. And I think it goes back to my conversation in my opening where I was asking people how they felt about how they were doing personally in the last year under Biden and how they felt like they were doing now. And more people felt like they were doing better now under Trump, even though marginally the numbers that everybody's citing, whether it's GDP, unemployment, they're barely changed. So I think it just shows a little bit of the hypocrisy where partisans get a little bit clouded to see who's in office and whether or not I agree with them because they're Democrat or whether I agree with them because they're Republican. So I think when you look at it for both sides, us streamers are saying things are going bad under a Democrat or good under a Democrat and vice versa. The American people both times are saying, hell no, we're not doing great right now and we weren't doing great under Biden. And so we're ignoring the American people, and based on what they're saying, people aren't happy with the costs of goods, people aren't happy with the cost of housing. And we were trying to get into the reasons why, but nobody kind of addressed that main point is why are people unhappy? It was either because we were going back and blaming Biden for inflation, or we were saying that, oh, it's because tariffs really aren't that big of a deal. And, you know, maybe they've affected things here and there a little bit. But I think that at the end of the day, there are things that Trump could have done a lot better to start his administration on the economic fronts. And I think tariffs is a big reason why we haven't seen inflation hit that 2% mark yet. It's been wobbly. It hasn't gone down to 2%. It's at 2.7 at the latest. The PPI is looking to be increased for the next month, so we'll see what happens in the trajectory then. We're seeing unemployment starting to increase, more job losses. So it's hard to say that the economy is going in a better direction than it was last year, even when Trump was first inaugurated. And I think that there are a lot of reasons that fall on his plate now, and a lot of Americans are starting to shift that blame from Biden to the Trump administration. It's been a year now, and people are already seeing that Trump hasn't, promised a lot of what he expected on the economy right now. And like Tyler said, we'll see at the end of the 4 years, but I just don't see it happening yet. And at the end of 4 years, we'll see if Trump actually gets it done or not. But I just don't think that we can call the American people liars for 4 straight years and not see the effects of the Republican Party get hit the hardest.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Streamlift.
I mean, when we're sitting here looking at these tariffs, like I think you guys are even. Let's just pretend it hasn't been super great on the inflation. Let's just pretend that that's the case. Fact of the matter is, a part of this is about driving interest in American manufacturing. There's been a complete shift on how folks are looking at sourcing components, equipment, all sorts of different things, and there's a shift shifting towards America. So when we're looking at it, it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about folks in America having jobs. It's about us developing our workforce. It's about us having advanced manufacturing. Part of the reason why we're losing in AI to the extent that we're losing it is we don't have the skill to domestically manufacture chips, and we're trying to do that. There's a lot of reasons why it's skilled work that's going to take a while for us to ever be able to do efficiently here. But in the meantime, Daddy Trump's making it clear that we've got good relations with Taiwan. We can get chips. We said, hey, look, if you want to access the American market, you're going to have to support us on our policies. So we're in a position to have access to all of the equipment that we need to go into this next generation of hyper advanced technology. And I couldn't be happier about that until when we hear also leftists sitting here saying, like our good friend Nonfron saying, oh, H-1B, that's not a big deal. We've gutted the last 10 years of American engineering talent because we've given a preference for overseas folks for reasons that have nothing to do with the original policy. And so when we sit there and we see these policies that pass up American engineering talent, pass up manufacturing, we say, oh, well, these tariffs are bad. Well, having the ability manufacture domestically is super important for a wide variety of reasons. And I realize that we've got probably some short attention spans here, but it wasn't too long ago where we had shortages of baby formula and just basics. Like the whole freaking premise of having domestic manufacturing, we can be completely self-reliant. We don't need any other fucking country. So America's arrogance comes from the fact that we really are fucking A-okay. We don't need anybody else. And if we need to hit them upside the back of the head with tariffs once in a while, maybe we should stop hiring some foreign engineering talent. I think the future's bright for America. God bless America.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Nonfon.
I don't think you guys understand anything.
The feeling is entirely mutual.
Sure, I just can't. I mean,
Let him close, let him close.
if you guys want to join my Discord server, we can chat a little more after this. I mean, listen, first of all,
my head.
I'm gonna blow my brains out, bro. First of all, like, just
don't do that.
there's no way I can possibly address every single fucking lie.
Just give us some ending
But
notes. Give us
just to
your
be clear,
highlights.
when I'm pretty when I say something like, I'm assuming what Tyler is referring to when I say Biden had the best economy by every metric or whatever. What I'm guess I was referring to, I don't know what exact quote he's bringing up, was that under Biden, you saw relatively similar to what we're still seeing now. The empirical data about GDP, about job numbers, about unemployment, about inflation, were aligned with how voters and how the median person perceived the economy. It's consumer sentiment used to track unemployment, used to track a lot of GDP numbers a lot better. Now it seems people are a lot more responsive to inflation than they are to things like unemployment. And I think part of that is due to social media. It's hard to say exactly what is driving that, but I think a lot of it's just because the media environment has changed. That doesn't mean I don't think U.S. voters are necessarily liars or anything. I just think that the media environment has changed in such a way that makes them more perceptive to inflation than it does to other things. And it's my understanding, if you look at American people's reporting of how they are doing personally financially, that is a lot better than how they view the economy as a whole. So that again points to the media environment changing to me, because they're concerned about other people, not just themselves. I don't know. I don't know what to say, bro. You guys gonna tell me why the supply curve sloped upwards? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't think you guys understand fixed effects. Yeah, so listen, watch my old videos on Nonfon on YouTube and Nonfon 420 and Twitch and Kick and Twitter. Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Grid, go ahead and close it out here. Final
All right,
thoughts.
man. Yeah, we'll get it done. So first of all, while I appreciate Tyler being here, you need to fix your fucking microphone, or I'm going to come to Texas and whoop your ass.
That's right. Tell him.
I don't know whether it's switching from your headphone to your normal microphone or what, but it is in driving. My entire chat wants to whoop your ass right now. I'm just saying.
I'll fuck them all up.
No violence. Nobody hurt Tyler. He's a good boy.
So Tyler needs a new mic. I think a lot of good salient points were made this evening. And honestly, the thing that I guess what strikes me is I don't think Nonfon actually agrees or disagrees with much of what was said, but he just can't allow himself to give Trump a victory at all. The smallest smidgen of, yeah, he's doing okay, right? Like we're nearly 100% employment, which is fucking awesome. It's rad. We've got all of these really positive things going on in the economy, but you just can't let the guy take even a small W. And that's, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Because honestly, I didn't hear anything from Nonfon tonight that was nearly like what he said back when we had the discussions about tariffs. He was much stronger and more opinionated back then. And, and that's fine. We kind of got off in the weeds into real estate, which was weird, but fine. I would have preferred to have stayed on things like manufacturing, like, bringing chip factories back to the United States, building. We still build more airplanes than basically any other country in the world. And we're selling those. As a matter of fact, we can't make them fast enough And I'm talking about at this point, I'm talking about like massive companies like Boeing and Raytheon and places like that that just cannot make this shit fast enough. And you know, so we those jobs are coming back. We never even got there, which is really sad. Overall, anybody who thinks that Trump's first year has been anything but success is deceiving themselves, and they really need to become a better American. And I'm just going to kind of leave it there. That's where it's at.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. All right, folks. This is going to bring us to the end of Give Me a Break here in about 5 minutes or so. Or 10 minutes. I don't know. I'll be on there shortly. We're going to be arguing about gold diggers and why if you're
why are we
TradCon,
talking about you tonight?
I don't know, man. It's crazy work. But I'll tell you what, we're gonna be
is what I know.
we're gonna be talking about. I'm really gonna be talking about why TradCon people really believe in gold digging. If y'all want, it's gonna be interesting. I'm pretty excited to make some people mad, and we're gonna be headhunting. So tune in here in a few minutes. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm sure we'll have.
I apologize. I will miss it, but I will.
Yeah, I'm sure you can watch it later. It'll be good. I'm sure there will be many more econ panels because we do need to talk about the military-industrial complex. Big fan of that. Personally, yeah, big fan. So we'll talk about that more soon. Thanks everybody for coming. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening. And we'll be live on the next show in a brief moment. Chat. Let me just go to the pause screen. All right. We're out on our side. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all be good. I'm gonna go to the next one.
Peace. Wait, where's the button? There it is. All right. All right. That was funny. It was good. You know, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. There we go. I do have to go. I would stay and chat and hang out with you guys. You're fucking awesome, wonderful people. You're all amazing human beings. But unfortunately, I got shit to do. It's been a long, long day today, man. It's just been super long. Let's see if there's anybody worthwhile to raid out to. Looks like Rob Knorr is doing a pre-Timcast show, so I'm going to raid you guys over to there. Hey, Kissy Cat, how good to see you. Good to see you out in the chat tonight. No super chats tonight. Breaks my heart. All that work I did. And not a single super chat. Sucks, but it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful night. The debate was good. It wasn't really much of a debate, to be honest with you. It was really just the left saying, "Yeah, we know it's good, but we don't like it because it's good, and we can't blame Trump for shit." And the right going, "But why are you trying to say these weird things?" Anyway, you guys all be cool. Wear the glasses if you need them. Check out the merch in the merch store, and go have a great rest of your night. Enjoy Rob Knorr.